OTAs got underway today for the Buffalo Bills. Before the players hit the field, head coach Sean McDermott did speak with the media. Running back James Cook, the only player not in attendance, and edge rusher Joey Bosa, while here, did not participate. He is dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out until training camp. On Cook, McDermott had this to say on his Pro Bowl running back's absence.
Yeah, we're staying in touch like you'd expect a player and a coach to do. So, James will be here when he's ready to be here, and, we move forward.
We'll get more on today when Sal Capacio joins the show at 4 p.m. 19 other teams began OTAs today. For the Falcons, their quarterback Kirk Cousins not in attendance today, and Bengals rookie Shamar Stewart present but not practicing. He remains unsigned. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton tonight at 8 o'clock. Edmonton has won 2 straight. They hold a 2-1 series lead. Also at 8, Game 4 of Knicks Pacers. That game is in Indiana. Through 3 games, no home team has won a game yet in this series. The Bisons are home versus the Knights. That game just after 6 can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Then some late afternoon baseball in the majors. 7:10, Mets host the White Sox. At 8, the Blue Jays are in Texas versus the Rangers. Then at 9:30, the Yankees on the road versus the Angels. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
I gotta wonder what kind of working relationship he'd have with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp.
I've often wondered that.
Like he, they, I don't know what his pronouns are, or their pronoun. Anyway, Satan.
And the Bulldog.
What's the upside of doing well?
Well, maybe they're too busy making everyone else's life hell.
Oh, boy.
And
wow.
you might just be able to do your own thing if you're partnered with Satan.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
They're too busy, making Scott Norwood miss field goals.
Oh, come on.
On WGR Sports Radio 550.
What do you know? Football found another hook. Today is 100 days to the opener. So, in kind, I think I want to say, ESPN has, it's like 100 is central to a lot of their conversations.
They're tying everything into
Who
100.
will be the first quarterback to 100 completions I just watched?
Really?
Yeah. What kind of analysis went into that question? One person said Jared Goff. One person said Tua. Do we look at the schedule? Do you break down the schedule?
Just pick any. Who plays on Thursday night, week 3?
Oh, I should know this
because that's your guy.
The Bills and the Dolphins.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
Then one of them. Maybe that's why this person picked Tua. They're going to get the 3.
Allen?
They're going to get. Well, I don't know because they run it all the time.
I love that you asked me that and I had it.
They're going to pick. Who gets the third game out of the way first.
Okay. So in this case, Tua will throw for like 7. He completes 70 passes in the first 2 weeks. Maybe, and then week 3's early.
Maybe
for
I want week 4. I rushed it. I think I want week 4.
I think you want week 4 at the earliest.
It was completions we're talking about, not attempts.
Right.
Completions. Okay. All right.
Right.
All right. Then week 4.
Did
who's playing in week 4, Mike, on Thursday?
On Thursday night?
Do you know?
Seattle, Arizona.
Okay. Good job. You liked it so much when you knew the first time. I thought I'd give you another chance at it.
But I'm looking at it now.
Oh, okay. That doesn't count. Then.
I knew the first answer. I did not know Seattle and Arizona was week 4. Sorry.
Why not? Aren't you studying?
I only study 15, 16, 17. And 17 doesn't have Thursday. Well, they don't have the regular Thursday night. It's Christmas, week 17.
Right.
So that'd be Kansas City, Denver. Would be the Thursday. But hopefully somebody has 100 completions by then.
I would expect by then. Yeah.
Did the people? It was. Who's the Hasselbeck?
That is Tim Hasselbeck.
Is it?
Yes, the brother Matt was the better quarterback. Tim is the one on TV.
Okay, so Tim Hasselbeck and Jeff Darlington. Do you think they looked at the schedule? Do you think they actually? I didn't have the volume up. Do you think they actually bothered with, or did they? They probably did, because you wouldn't just name Tua. Would you? You wouldn't just...
No, but I liked until I realized it was too soon that week 3 Thursday night. I thought maybe that was exactly what they did and why one of them landed on Tua. Although, like, you ask a good question back, why not just choose Josh Allen?
Yeah.
But week 3 is too soon. So yeah, I have no idea I don't know what they're doing.
Do you know who led the league in completions last year? Tua was 19th, by the way.
He missed some time.
He missed a few games.
Yeah.
By more than 50, this player led the league in completions last year.
Jameis Winston.
No.
It was not a serious answer.
That's good. Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I don't know.
Burrow.
Oh, sure. That was actually gettable. I'm over here being cute.
He led the league
and not funny.
He led the league in completions, attempts, yards, touchdown passes, yards per game. 70, all while throwing 70% completion rate. Pretty good. You a Burrow guy? You are, right?
I don't love him. I think he's great, but I don't.
I think he's great.
I think he's great. I think the other guys are all better. And the other guys, I mean Mahomes, Allen, and Jackson.
He's in the great tier.
Yes.
How many are in that tier? 4. That's it?
4.
No one else?
I think that's, yeah. Is that it? And they're all.
Hurts?
They're all those guys. Man. I think you got to put Hurts in the great
I have
tier.
a tough time doing it.
Yeah?
I do.
Man.
I have a tough time calling him great. Like NFL quarterback great. Is he going to be someday at a bank honored as Eagles great? Maybe. He'll be an Eagles great.
He got a Super Bowl in the pocket already. He had an incredible game in the one they lost with him.
He did.
I feel like he warrants inclusion. I have no idea how much. Assuming that his passing stats pale somewhat with those other guys. Certainly everybody's are going to be down against Burrow. Burrow had a monster year last year with their them losing all the time and needing to throw to try to stay in games. I feel like I want to push Hurts into that tier.
He'll have a RotoWire blurb in a minute that says Jalen Hurts, warrants inclusion.
But I think that's it.
That's how they would write it.
I don't think if he's 4 or excuse me 5, I don't think I'm making room for anybody else. There's certainly some TBDs. There's some guys that are coming hard. Jaden Daniels might by this time next year, if he has another year comparable to what he did in his rookie year, he might be breaking that door down.
Goff isn't great. Stafford.
No, I don't know.
Okay. I appreciate that you wouldn't put Stafford there.
I mean,
you love
I
Stafford.
think on the elite tier, I think though, and I still feel like Hurts belongs above because he's got the dual threat. He's a fantastic runner, and has certainly accomplished enough as a passer. I think
that's important to get a grasp of is the running, the quota. How much of the running is relevant to it? Because Hurts, as a runner, it's not just tush-push stuff either. Like, as a runner, he's way tougher. If you didn't have that, Allen, it's true of all of them, especially like Hurts maybe or Jackson, and then Allen. That group of guys. Burrow doesn't have this. Mahomes barely does.
It's why I struggle to put Hurts on the tier. Because I think it matters so much in this era to have a guy that can do that for you. And so, maybe I'm punishing him unnecessarily because all that matters is points and moving the ball. And Burrow certainly does do plenty of that and has already been to a Super Bowl, and Allen has not. So I don't know how hard I can ding him, but I feel like I'm getting ready to go have at it in a game I got to have. And my quarterback can't move like Jackson and Allen, and even Mahomes and Hurts. And I feel like I'm going in. I'm not with one arm tied behind my back, but I feel like there's some handicap that I'm carrying if I don't have a guy that can get out of there.
Bo Nix.
On this tier?
Great.
Yeah, no.
Maybe you didn't watch football last year because he had more passing yards and passing touchdowns than Josh Allen did.
Good for him.
And a better completion percentage. Maybe you didn't watch it. Maybe you didn't see him. Maybe
I think that's all real cute, throwing the ball parallel to the line of scrimmage all the time.
More yards.
So good for you.
More yards.
Yeah.
I mean, just saying. You're not ready to put him on the... What about Purdy?
No.
All right, so it's 4. You've decided it's 4.
Well, no, I thought I said 5. Hurts is 5.
Oh, you did say you wanted to include Hurts, so 5.
5. Yeah.
Baker?
No.
100 days to. Are we any?
We're counting down 100
less
quarterbacks.
shameless?
We're going to name 100 quarterbacks in the next.
We are
15 minutes.
I think I'm up for it. I've got a list right here. How many threw a pass last year?
Ooh.
Not just quarterbacks. I know the number of players. Or do I? How many players threw a pass last season in an NFL regular season game?
No, it's complicated.
103.
103.
Yes. That's amazing, right?
Yeah,
including like 20.
That's a big number.
25 or 26 threw exactly one.
Are they all non-quarterbacks?
I think. Well, no.
No. Some of them are guys that just got in and threw one pass.
Kyle Allen, former Bill.
No, I think there's 2 of them. There's 2 of them Allens, I think.
Brandon Allen? Kyle Allen. Kyle Allen 1 for 1 last year. Also, Kyle Trask, the Kyles. 1 for 1. Anyway, James Cook is not here. So this is voluntary. I actually kind of think, why is anybody here? If it's just sort of like,
Yeah.
How meaningful is it? I think we knew each other. I had a period of years where I hated the mini camp idea. Like, really, do we really need? I guess we're just joking about the year-round news. The narratives in the NFL,
right.
Like all the different things that come along that we talk about, which is awesome. It's crazy. But do the guys need this work? I don't know. It's not a debate I need to have today, but. Everybody else is there, not Cook.
Right.
And does that matter?
No. No, I think it only matters if it turns out that he carries this over. I'm not even going to say it matters if he's here in 3 weeks. Right? That's around the timing of the mandatory minicamp,
June,
right?
It's 2 weeks from today or tomorrow.
Okay.
It's 2 weeks away.
So, I don't even think I would, it's obviously an escalation of the situation because it would be the first time that he is skipping something that is not voluntary. So there will be fines incurred, etc. So it is an escalation, but to me, training camp begins, and if he's not here, we're on watch. And then it might get a little tense. Like, how long will he go? Are the Bills going to do something about it because they're worried? Like, will they, I don't know, cave might be too strong, but, give in some from their end? I don't know. But to me, late July, when the report date is, that's all. I'm not that worried about anything else.
What do you think the Bills' position really is? So, correct me if I'm wrong, but when Brandon Beane spoke about this one time, he said that they had at least a conversation, if not an offer was made, but they'd had a conversation, and this is the time when Beane said, basically, we're too far apart, so this is going to wait. And maybe we'll get to it next year, or whatever he said about that the one time that we all thought was kind of interesting that he mentioned next year, not like next month. But it was before the draft, and they talked, and it just wasn't close enough for Beane to think it was worth digging in on at that time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Right?
Basically, he sounded like, you guys don't need to monitor this. There's nothing really happening here.
Right. So there's probably, I would go as far as to guess that there's an actual deal on the table for him.
Sure, I bet they have I think I think they'd be foolish not to value him more than what his current contract is paying him.
So
I think they'd want to make him happy if they can, but I'm sure they have a max dollar figure in mind that they simply don't want to go past. Maybe for any running back, certainly not one who only plays 47% of the snaps or whatever the heck he plays.
41. Was it last year?
I just know it was below 50.
It was below 50. So that number, that contract is what? So Cook's public, for what it's worth, stance was 15 million per. What are the Bills offering him? If we are right that there's an offer available for James Cook, a deal for him to sign today, is it 3 years? I mean, I'm not going to get too in the weeds with like the details or anything because it's not worth guessing at. But 3 years for like half of 15, even as much as
I might
10?
go to 10. Like 3 for 30 is what came to my mind. What am I basing that on? I don't know.
Well, you can say you're trying to guess at so it's far enough away from 15 if that is indeed what Cook wants. It's far enough away from 15 for the Bills to be like, all right, not now, right? It's not a couple of $1 million apart where you'd feel like, all right, we'll get this done today.
Right.
It's enough, or at least it was maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, if he wants 3 for 45 and their max is 3 for 30, that's a significant, depending on how much of it is guaranteed without getting too far into the weeds. But if they've got a $10 to $15 million gap in overall valuation, that's significant.
It's a 50% difference. 10 million versus 15 million. So, yeah, that would be, not only would that perhaps be considered too far apart, but it's also we're offering him $10 million a year and he's a flat no.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Is that number probably sorry for the awkward wording. Is it, possible that they're offering him more than 10? Possible, but I guess I would kind of doubt it. And if 10 doesn't get you close, then what? What is going to happen next?
Then I think
you just want him to take it.
Right. Well, you want him to take it, and if he won't, you have to be willing to not tack on the extra millions to get him to sign, and then you reboot running back next year.
So if they sign him for 10 next year,
yeah, I'm saying I skipped ahead to they're going to get him to play on this contract and then go to the market and go fly be free. If they don't have a unless there's a scenario where they're waiting to see him do what he did last year again. I don't think he's getting 16 rushing touchdowns. He did it last year, but some semblance of, all right, yeah, this is what we can count on from you. You did it 2 years in a row. Then maybe, but even then, you're still at, assuming your usage is the same, to me, you're still at a player that's not playing half the time. And I don't think I'd want my team to be committing that big a dollar figure to that guy. I mean, my guess is this thing tracks toward him leaving in free agency next year. And they don't settle the contract. Cook realizes his best bet to get a big contract is to come in and produce. And sure, maybe he gets that here, like I'm saying, but I kind of doubt it. And then he rides off into the sunset. Somebody else makes him, one of the highest paid running backs in the league.
That would scare me. That I think is really where the Bills run a risk. I mean, I know how much of a risk they run adding a few $1 million per year to his deal. Can't they get away with that in terms of the cap? I mean, it's a big team. There's so much money all the time. I think it would be kind of a bad look, but teams do it. Last year in the league, the teams that spent up on running back mostly were rewarded for it. So if they went near $15 million a year, I think they would be criticized for it, but they might be like, yeah, well, had to do it because they wouldn't want, I think, and this is I'm reading minds now, but they wouldn't want Cook to play out his contract this year on this team, in those circumstances, with everybody sort of by actions, by words, even having the understanding that he's gone. And so, where does that leave the player psychologically at that position where the shelf life is so short? I mean, this is where this could get interesting because maybe the Bills just will not capitulate on him. And he's like, well, what do I do then? Do I play for the few, what is it, 4?
5-ish, yeah.
Do I just play for that and pretend I never said a word? swallow my pride, right? Do I just do that? That's tough.
Mm-hmm.
And then just go and hope to get paid here or somewhere else after the season. He just the 16 touchdowns is insane. And there's no reasonable way to think that he'll repeat that. I mean, I just highly doubt that he'll come close to 16 touchdowns again. It's just not how it works. The guys like a Henry or somebody that are just undeniably great, you can't really say that about, because anything's 2,000 yards is possible. Henry was also 16. That shared the league lead last year. It was Cook, Henry, and Jahmyr Gibbs rushing. Like, I don't know. I have never been able to get there with James Cook, where this guy, because, you could actually tell me, well, if he plays more, then he could top it.
Ugh.
But just, it doesn't happen.
He's not built like a guy that should play more.
Right. We did this dance with Knox. When Knox had, was it 8 touchdowns one year? Like, oh, why can't it go up? He's young. It doesn't. He doesn't command the targets. It didn't come close to happening again. And so that the right bet on Cook is like half that. Now, the year before he had 2, and he played better. He had more, arguably. He had better stats 2 years ago, except for touchdowns. But last year he had 16 touchdowns versus 2 the year before. 2 was Charlie Bucket in that math class. How many candy bars did you have? 200? No. So anyway, sorry. I think it gets interesting if Cook is like defiant here and like, no, I'm worth more than this.
Right,
I know it. And I'm not going to go play running back for you on that contract and then get hurt and get thrown out to pasture. So that's a possible outcome.
The whole thing is need to even be said. I mean, it's not optimal. You'd want an important guy who's young, who's really helped your overall cause, to be happy. You want to make people happy. You want your employees to feel fulfilled, like they're not being overlooked and taken for granted, and any of that could happen to this player, any player that is going through this. It just happens to be it's Cook, and it's at this sort of, I don't know, is volatile the right? It's at a position where there is, ample evidence of not investing heavily in it being, the better plan that's taken on some water in the last year and a half or so with the big contracts and the production, like you've already alluded to. But I just don't know that the Bills' overall model has always been draft, run them, see you later. Now, nobody has tested it because really, as much as fans might have, like certain fans who had his jersey or watched him in college or something, might have really liked Devin Singletary, there was never like, oh, we got to retain this guy. He was always replaceable. Like that's what he played hard, he played well, made some good plays, but there was always going to be an assembly line behind him. Now Cook is really the third guy in that because Moss was in there too, and that he left here even before Singletary, if I remember correctly. But
he was traded.
So
right?
Cook is like the third guy they drafted to be a part of the timeshare there, and he's the guy who's had 2 years in a row now, 1,000 yards, all the touchdowns last year. So he's in line. The timing is coming and there is a case to be made. Who is the next most valuable player on that offense after Josh Allen? Is it one of the receivers, or do you get to James Cook immediately? I mean, you look at last year's stat sheet, I think you would get to Cook pretty quickly. So it's a tough spot to be with someone who appears to matter that much, but it is still a running back. So I would want my organization to have sort of a line of demarcation, if you will, for we're just not going past this at running back. We'll fire the assembly line up and we'll do something else at the position rather than run a $15 million a year contract up the flagpole. I can't see them doing it. So it could get bumpy. We could be spending a lot of time assessing opinions on Cook's level of effort and how just all kinds of vague things that we'll have no idea about, but I would think assertions will be made, like the first time he sort of shrugs his shoulders and walks out of bounds instead of taking on a tackler or something. There's going to be a lot of self-preservation if he doesn't get a contract. which again I'm not expecting him to.
And the Bills would want to avoid all of that.
Of course.
803-0550 for your thoughts. James Cook absent from voluntary minicamp. Sean McDermott, quote, James will be here when he's ready to be here. Thanks, Coach. That sounds right. I believe that. I think that's probably the case. Sal Capacio today at 4. Paul Hamilton later. Tage Thompson with the overtime winner, the golden goal for Team USA at the Worlds. And we'll bounce around a lot. Some interesting news around the NFL with other guys you've heard of that are not at voluntary practice. Would you go to voluntary practice under any circumstances? Veteran, star, rookie, would you go? I mean, veteran, rookie, both. Anything. Like, would you go to voluntary minicamp? It's nice out. I mean, I don't know. Tempted to.
I want to say yes.
Okay, you're that guy.
I think you would too. You're a team guy.
I am sort of. Sometimes,
here you
sometimes.
are. Like you participate in the things that
fun
are
team?
supposed to be good for morale.
I do.
Supposed to wasn't pejorative. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I don't want to assume I'm not involved, but that's the idea behind that sort of stuff.
Yes.
You're a voluntary mini.
I would go to voluntary practice because I'd feel like I'd be, ostracized if I didn't.
Yeah.
I do it under pressure. And I'm not sure that's really being a leader.
Yeah.
But I'd probably go. You're right. 803-0550 for your calls. We will look after the break. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.
Yeah, when he came back, he really looked like he had been working. And that's the information we were getting in our little conversations with him during that kind of down period. And when he came back, he was in really good shape. You could tell he had been working drill-wise, weight room-wise. So, real proud of what he's done to this point in the off-season. Continuing it now into the 3 weeks of practice will be important, and then on into the summer break.
Sean McDermott on Bulldog. Ever since he got back from Puerto Rico, you could tell we've been hearing he'd been putting the work in, and you could definitely notice it.
I did put the work in today. I got to tell you, I went.
See,
I went hard. 30 miles
on the bike.
On the bike, yeah. First burst out of the park. I've only been out. It's only been nice enough. This is a dilemma. Exercise outside, play golf. Exercise outside, play golf. When it's nice enough outside to ride my bike outside, I end up wanting to play golf. So days that it has been nice enough to do that, I end up golfing. Today was not one of those days. I got to get out. The ride for Roswell's coming up June 28th.
Coming up.
I got to get going.
1 month and 1 day.
It's 45 miles, and I did 30 today. So I'll be fine, but I just needed to go grind.
Sure.
So took one of my favorite city rides, just all around. Good deal.
I should say that McDermott was actually talking about Keon Coleman.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't obvious.
Who I guess also did some work.
Apparently. It wasn't obvious who he might have been talking about, who knows, but it was Keon Coleman, I'm told, that he was talking about there.
It is best shape of my life season. Although McDermott didn't use that phrasing talking about Coleman. Who that heard that and knows who he was talking about, i.e. not me, Keon Coleman, one of the most important guys going into next season, I think, on the team. I'm encouraged to hear that because that was kind of freaked me out in the winter when the season ended and they talked about he and Kincaid the way they did. But it sounds like he took their whatever it was that they wanted him to do, it sounds like he did it, or at least that's what they're saying.
Important is an interesting word for Coleman. Because I don't quite think of him that way. When I think of Coleman and like what happens, I think of it more or almost entirely in the context of the Bills and their drafting. The wide receiver thing is a team building topic. That's the draft and more. And that's what Coleman gets me to. I don't know how important he is. I mean, how good were they last year with him doing, you could say this about any wide receiver on the team. How good were they despite this player, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, anybody, only doing this, right? So are they in trouble if Keon Coleman shows up this year and gives them the same per-game stats? I wouldn't say they're in trouble, but I would say it doesn't look like a great pick.
Yeah, well, that's almost entirely what I'm referring to. That the pick and the light that Brandon Beane has chosen to shine on it with how he handled himself after the draft, talking about the receiver position. I thought very much so he squarely put a bright light on both Coleman and Kincaid, his last two pass-catching investments, like big investments, first pick of the second round for Coleman, and him saying, I've got enough. I mean, sure, he mentions Josh Palmer and the investment they made there, too. So it's not just the kids, but it's been uneven for both guys, to say the least. I mean, I don't think that's too strong at all. Maybe it's even a little weak to describe how their rookie and second seasons, in the case of Kincaid, went last year. I think if you're going to go on the radio and go in attack mode on people who don't think you've got enough at receiver, the guys you just picked on almost Thursday. I mean, Kincaid was a Thursday pick again. One pick later, and there's Coleman. Those guys are, I think, got like a fresh set of sort of expectations on them a little bit. You make a good point. The results might not suffer that much if neither of those things happen, because they had an incredible offensive output year last year without any of that really from either guy. But I just feel like the heat's kind of on. So it's almost more it's important to the conversation about how is that all going. Like you're saying, the narrative around the draft and the picks and the build of that room, that's where I think Coleman's important.
And it's just what sometimes tends to happen is we end up talking about receivers and like the big picture. I want to say something like, so there's this split, if you will, in ideology, or like people who think they're weak there, people who don't agree or just don't think it matters that much, whatever. And what'll happen this year? A scenario where the Bills are really good again. Everything, this is the point I'm going to make. I can't even wait to say it. Everything is last year again, where there's no dominant figure at that position. Closest you come is Shakir, and Allen, with, for him at least, pretty modest stats, is an MVP candidate and winner. Like, and you get to the playoffs. I think part of why I think it's such an interesting debate is that they were as good as they were anyway. And even with that, 13 wins, MVP quarterback, 2 playoff wins, 29 points in the AFC Championship. This is you. You can still go, yeah, I needed one more guy. You can still say it. Mm-hmm. When the season came down to it, they couldn't get that first down. They couldn't score when it was all on the line. And it seems to me super harsh to end up at my offense wasn't good enough after that season. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, if you had the guy, if Coleman becomes this, or what Diggs was, somebody that like, I need this right now, I'm going there. I've got Josh Allen. You can't stop this play. Me and that receiver are unstoppable here. Like the very best tandems, like Mahomes and Kelsey, the very best tandems in the league forever. And they don't have that. So that's what makes the debate either interesting or maddening, because I guess from there you can come to any conclusion you want. And who's going to say something, right? Like, well, how can you say they didn't have enough on offense? Look at the season. Well, okay, but I am, because instead of investing in a first-round pick, someone else, free agency, a trade, no, I'm loading up on the defensive line, and we'll see what happens. So we've got a long time. It won't even be, unless it goes really badly, it won't even be settled at all in the regular season. No. It'll all wait until the playoffs, and they might win 2 more games, and they might score 30 points again, and then you could still go, yeah, well, I still maintain, Your Honor, that I needed this one more piece. I guess that's what makes it, again, either fun or to make you crazy. Some debates in sports. This is one of them.
Yeah, because I don't think that you should expect, and nobody, I don't think, is saying that. The Bills certainly aren't saying that. They're expecting the same ride, right? The same trip around the sun here is to be expected. Everything is not going to go the same way. And the good fortune, you can emphasize it all you want. You can practice different skills to help you get the ball loose. And I'm getting to takeaways here. The incredible fortune that they had with the number that they took themselves, that they got themselves, fumble recoveries and interceptions, along with how few they turned it over, how few times they turned it over themselves, is a good place to start. I think for, well, can I get by with what I had last year again? Because that's a big factor. That is field position. That is possession of the ball. And it leans so hard your way that to just expect it, again, however much you want to emphasize it and think you've got some secret sauce or something. I'm not saying there isn't something that they're doing that gives them an edge. I don't happen to know what it is, but you can emphasize it. It doesn't mean it's going to roll your way. And it really, really did. And that is the first thing I'm thinking about when I hear the GM of the team talking about all the points they scored and how productive they were and how I don't have a problem. Like, well, are you sure? Like, are you sure there's enough there if the other team keeps punting it to you? Like, say you stop them instead of taking it away at midfield or whatever. And, you every drive is, or enough of your drives are now requiring another 25 to 30 yards. That is something that could change everything for what you accomplished on offense. And that's where, the idea of not needing another guy, I think, can be called into question.
Bills had 32 takeaways last year, 16 fumbles and 16 interceptions. Third in the league total, first in the league in fumble recoveries. And they had 8 turnovers, which was the fewest in the NFL. 2 fumbles lost all year. How about that? 6 interceptions. And, there's definitely an effort toward that. It's always both. It's always some luck, but also, clearly they wanted to reduce that number. And Allen played accordingly, and it's ironic that he won the MVP in a year, or maybe not, because interceptions have worked against him in terms of his reputation, but as, maybe they should. But still, playing more conservatively, they had pretty gross numbers when it came to downfield passes, hit rates and things like that. But still, they won all those games, and he wins the award. 8 turnovers to 32 takeaways, the Bills last year.
They put the ball on the ground combined between pass catchers and runners 19 times. 6 receivers were dinged for a fumble, and 13 ball carriers. Not 13 different, but a couple more than one.
And they lost 2.
Right.
Out of 19?
Wait a second now. Where is this total?
Uh-oh.
The total under fumbles on my page here says 13, but I'm counting them up. I've got 1 for Cook, 1 for Allen, 1 for Trubisky. What is that? That's 3. How is 13 that number? I'm pretty confused. I'm sorry. I don't trust the information I'm looking at right now anymore.
You're an ESPN then.
Yes, I'm a little shook.
Have we ever been more
I'm a little shook
certain of anything?
No.
At Pro Football Reference, there's fumbles lost, and then there's fumbles period. And Cook only put the ball on the ground, as you put it, 1 time.
Okay.
All year. Allen was 5. I have 9 for that. Allen 5, Cook 1, Shakir 1.
You know what it is?
Kincaid and Trubisky.
It's Allen as a runner versus Allen. I'm guessing that's the distinction, because he only has 1 listed there for himself on this page, and that's clearly not right. Anyway,
1 lost,
but I'm saying totals because they have 2 separate columns here.
Okay.
Anyway, the ball was on the ground frequently enough to have lost more than they lost is the point.
Yep.
Okay,
especially the playoffs.
However many it is, it's not always going to roll your way, right? The middle there is probably where you're most likely going to live, and even that is that's like double the amount of turnovers they had all year if they lose half of those fumbles.
What about it? What was it in the Ravens and the Chiefs games combined, or even the playoffs overall? There were 6 or 8 fumbles that they recovered all of.
Yeah, I don't.
Something like that.
I don't have the box for that open right now. So
we'll take a break. Sal coming up at 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog. This is WGR.
didn't sin so long. All the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night. Said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go. All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. You seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over, it's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster.
Welcome back. Hopefully everybody enjoyed their 3-day weekend. Memorial Day. Just saying. Perfect again.
You got it on the board. It was the most pleasant round of golf yet this year. Yesterday morning it was perfect.
Pretty close to a perfect day.
Sun high in the sky, no clouds, no wind, just really nice. Not hot, really, just really comfortable.
I did the thing that you do on days like that, and a lot of people joined me in going to the big department store, the big hardware store.
Oh, boy. All right.
Yeah. That's the place to be on
a
late spring weekend. Just chaos. Sure. It feels like chaos in there.
Got to get the mulch.
Mulch. We bought mulch. We bought flowers. Just loaded up on spring essentials.
Yeah.
Got the mower out yesterday. Oh, yeah. Glorious. I'm actually saying that.
You remember, it's been a year now. So I don't know why you would remember that it was specifically a year, but last year on Memorial Day, a more than 100-year-old tree. It didn't fall entirely down, but we lost a huge limb of it, and it led to eventually later in the spring, your friends from Woodchuck coming over to take the tree down. I had the great idea at the time because they would have ground the stump all the way, you just made it disappear basically. And I thought, where it is in our front yard, like let's leave this stump. It's about waist high. Let's leave it. I'll hollow out the top of it and make it into like a planter or something, and I had this idea. I did not know that our dear old friend and longtime producer Greg Bauk had just completed this project himself.
Wow.
Just unbeknownst to me, like I had this idea, and then the next day saw him posting about how hard it was to do, and I thought, oh no. I got somewhere on Sunday. Not really anywhere you want to be yet, but I did make some headway. I thought power drill.
You mean this year? This weekend?
This year. It's taken me all year. I tried last year. I got absolutely zero results. Did a little more Googling, watched a couple of more tutorials. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. I don't have a battery-powered drill anymore. I'm using a corded drill you plug in so the battery doesn't wear down. I can go for hours. And I did Sunday morning, standing at a tree stump in my yard for like 3 hours with a drill going the whole time. And
it didn't really get you that far?
My wife hasn't looked at it yet to give me any sense of approval or disapproval.
Has Greg?
Greg has not. I've not been in touch with Greg about this.
Oh, well, till now.
But I have a feeling it's going to take me. I'm turning 60 in July. I hope to have this completed by my 70th birthday, is what I'm thinking. Fellas, if you are, you get a tree coming down and you think like, that'd be a nice idea. I have no idea how hard or arduous a task this will be, but I think maybe I'll offer to my wife to hollow that out and make it into a planter, and that will be nice. Don't do it. Get this thing ground down and put your plants somewhere else, because this is. I've got this ugly stump. It's not doing anything. It's been a year, and now I'm starting to feel this pressure to get somewhere with this job, and it's really hard.
Instead, maybe buy a planter.
Sure, and just put it on the stump.
And put it on the stump,
maybe
or
that's
not.
what I need to do.
And plant. Plant away. Plant your heart out.
Yeah.
It's a noble idea.
Yeah.
Because the tree wasn't, mortally wounded. It was just like a limb was broken up top. Well, it was in the sense that it was, but it still would have been.
They were worried about the health of the tree, but the stump is rock solid. There's no rot going on in the stump of this tree. The trunk further up, they needed it to come down. They showed me it's hollow in here. You're in danger.
Okay.
So the tree came down, but yeah, the stump healthy as a stump.
Healthy as a stump. Right, and that says it all.
Yeah. It's very hard wood. I thought maybe the winter, exposure to the elements would soften it up. Not really.
I don't know.
Not how this is going.
Isn't that
so
what
far.
Exposure to the elements is not supposed to do? That it's supposed to make you more hardened. It's supposed to toughen you up. Right? These dome teams are all softies.
But wood though, I don't know. You have to protect wood from the elements so that it. I don't know. It's not happening. Don't do it, guys.
Don't bother. A year later, you're saying it.
Yeah.
Sal Capacio with us. Spent some of the day out with the Bills. Minicamp. This is their one day of the 3 this week where the media is allowed to observe. So we'll talk to Sal about that and James Cook's absence and more after the update. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day, I'm right. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All sing your high line with the roller coaster of life. Yeah. It's time to all choose your timeline on the roller coaster of life. Oh, you seem to easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, all sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
The Buffalo Bills got OTAs underway today. Before, though, the players hit the field, head coach Sean McDermott did speak with the media. James Cook, the only player not in attendance, and Joey Bosa, while here, did not participate. He's dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out until training camp. On Cook, McDermott did have this to say on his absence.
Yeah, we're staying in touch like you'd expect a player and a coach to do. So, James will be here when he's ready to be here, and, we move forward.
We'll get more on today. Sal Capacio joins the show next. 19 other teams did begin OTAs today. Falcons quarterback Kirk Cousins not in attendance for Atlanta, and Bengals rookie Shamar Stewart is present, not practicing though, as he remains unsigned. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton tonight at 8 o'clock. Edmonton has won 2 straight. They have a 2-1 series lead. And then also at 8, Game 4 of Knicks Pacers in Indiana. Through 3 games, no home team has won a game in this series. Bisons are home versus the Knights just after 6. That can be heard on the Bet 1520. Then some late afternoon baseball in the majors. 7:10, Mets host the White Sox at 8. The Blue Jays are in Texas versus the Rangers. Then at 9:30, the Yankees are on the road versus the Angels. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
Welcome back. We've got something. The Bills are on the field. Today, I believe I read, maybe even from Sal, was the first day it was allowed of these practices for the offense to go against the defense. They've got a lot of rules.
That's right, yes.
There are a lot of rules. You can't have the offense go against the defense, apparently. But that was allowed today, I believe. Let's find out that and more from Sal Capacio here on the West Her Hotline. Sal, what kind of day was it out there?
It was warm, and that was great because what we've had this weekend, it was not like that. So have a day like today, little cloud cover, perfect to go outside and kind of just watch football for a couple of hours. It was, to me, I just wrote about it at WGR550.com. From a football standpoint, it felt like a regular season practice. And maybe it's just because we haven't had anything in a while, but guys, they jumped right into it. They went right to 7-on-7 goal line situation. I should say goal to go situation. The ball's at the 7-yard line, I believe. They had plenty of that. Then had 11-on-11 period, had an 11-on-11 goal to go situation. So there was a lot of, it was competitive, it was spirited, and I just like how they just kind of jumped right in feet first.
So I think the big story, if there is a story here, is that James Cook is not there. I doubt you would consider that surprising, but what did you get, if much, out of what McDermott said about it or anyone else?
Not much. I mean, Sean McDermott said he'll be here when he's ready to be here, and they've stayed in contact with him. I don't think it's really anything has changed. The only thing that's changed is the date on the calendar and the fact that now they're in phase 3, so we were all wondering. But I don't think anybody expected James Cook to be here, at least from our standpoint, from a media standpoint. You wonder if it would happen at some point, and maybe it does in 2 weeks. 2 weeks from today is mandatory minicamp. Maybe things change then, but none of the messaging changed today. It's all very positive on James Cook, what they feel about James Cook, and hey, it's voluntary. And like Sean McDermott said, he'll be here when he's here. He is notably the only person not in attendance out of a 90-man roster. That's excellent. That's great attendance for any team in the NFL, regardless of situation or circumstance. And I would say even because Josh Allen was there today, guys. I mean, a lot surrounding the fact that, he has his wedding, I believe, coming up very soon. This weekend has been reported. It's not anything official or whatever, but I think people are expecting that. And a lot of people, me included, did not think Josh was going to be there today. Now, that doesn't mean he's not going to be there tomorrow or Thursday, but we're not there with the media to be able to say if he is or not.
Yeah. Circling back to Cook, obviously it's not going to be optimal if he doesn't show up for the mandatory minicamp, but I said in our first hour today, Sal, that even that, considering where we are, I feel like I'm not going to get really worried about it until he's missing training camp. Because I feel like that's the spot where, or maybe he's there so he doesn't get fined, but it's a hold in. We haven't had one of those really. Maybe Poyer did a little of that a couple of years ago. But either way, that's where, to me, it gets serious. Recognizing that it is a mandatory thing in a couple of weeks here, and there will be fines, I'm not myself, as a fan, as an observer, as a critic, worried about whether James Cook is there for June football practice. But training camp is another matter to me.
Totally agree. And even the mandatory portion of it, as you said, it says mandatory, but how much is he missing other than something out of his wallet if he's not there, right? I mean, I think you'd love him to be there. Yes, it's mandatory. It's part of his job, and we all recognize that and know that, and he should be there. But if he's not, it doesn't mean that he's not going to learn something from the playbook, right? I mean, you have the same offensive coordinator, quarterback, offensive line, everything there. He could also do a hold-in at mandatory minicamp. He could show up.
Yeah.
I think that's actually what Jordan Poyer did a couple of years ago. It's been a while. I don't remember. But I think that might have been what he did. And then I think he actually was on the field the next day because he said he couldn't stand watching. And he's like, no, I can't. That's not me. I can't do this. I got to be out there with my guys.
Yeah.
So we could see something like that. All eyes will be on that and ears will be perked up for that. Now that we've kind of passed this benchmark, that is the next one. But you're right, Bulldog. I think even though, so let's play this out. Let's say you get to June 10th. There's no James Cook June 10, 11, or 12. Because, he could be one day, make a statement, and the next day show up. But let's say he's not here at all. It's a story. NFL.com is writing about it, and ESPN.com is writing about it. We're talking about it. There's no doubt about that. But the real story then comes in July 23rd or 24th, whenever they're on the field for the first time at training camp.
I mean, this is only guessing, but my guess would be that if the Bills have made an offer to him, and it's even such that the way Brandon Beane was talking before the draft, where they were far enough apart that it really wasn't worth digging in on, that the next move from the Bills, if there is a next move, would come after the mandatory minicamp, after Cook skips it. Like that, if he doesn't need to come back for that other than the fines, for any other reason other than that. If he's serious about getting paid here, I don't think he's here in 2 weeks. But, then does that spur the Bills to make a better offer, and are they close enough where they can find a middle ground so that he's here by July? I mean, does that sound plausible, at least?
Yeah, I don't know, Mike. I think the Bills are pretty dug in, on what they feel his value is. It's possible things could move, but I think if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying in this scenario, if James Cook doesn't show up, maybe the Bills massage something and say, okay, well, let's come back to him with maybe upping the offer. I get the feeling the Bills are where they are. And you know what? If James Cook wants to play at whatever the Bills value him, and whether there's been an official offer or not, I'm not sure. I kind of get the sense that it could be, but maybe not. Maybe they just got to a place where they were talking, they know what the parameters are, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to insult him with an offer if that's what he thinks or feels. Mm-hmm. So let's just kind of wait on even doing that. So I just think the Bills have a value on him, and that's where they are right now. And I don't know if him showing up or not showing up will change that.
Yeah, I think I would lean toward what you said on this specific issue. Like whether him not coming to mandatory minicamp prompts the Bills to budge at all, if that's not too clumsy a way to put it. Because I think once you get to the place they are, recognizing that they've done a great job of avoiding any of this kind of drama, really almost the entirety of the Beane and McDermott era here, I think they'd probably be expecting, once the negotiations didn't bear any fruit and they recognize they're far enough apart to not continue, then I think you're bracing for him to not show up for minicamp, and you shouldn't probably, in my opinion, react to that. Just let it be. Look, he's doing what he's got to do. We all understand it. I mean, we can rehearse the speech a million times. We've heard it from different coaches and GMs over the years. Coach the guys that are here and all that sort of stuff. I don't think I would expect the Bills to move there. Summer might be different, but even then, I don't know, Sal. I've thought all along that their end game here is let him test the market next year. It's not optimal because you don't know, how burned he'll feel by that, and does that impact him, the team, your chances this year? All of those are, situations you'd care to avoid if you can, but not at the expense of signing a guy to a contract you don't believe in.
I agree. And the way the Bills and most teams operate anyway, this isn't just unique to the Bills, but the way most teams operate, learning this, talking with people around the league for many years, is teams do their evaluations on their guys and say, okay, this is where we slot this guy. This is where we value. We got to do comparisons. Just no different than what you see a lot of people and content creators and people who do this, on social media and all that. Okay, here's evaluation, what we have. And that's the value of the guy. And, sure, there's always kind of room to move things around because you could have guaranteed money, you could have bonuses. There's all those kinds of things that happen. But once you get to that point of, okay, this is where we value you, if you're talking several $1 million a year, which I'm guessing that could be the case here, it's not like you're just all of a sudden saying, well, you know what, we better do this because it just, we're afraid of what might happen. It's that this is what we value him, and we hold true to that specific value of how we did it. Now, if you get to training camp and he is there and he's disgruntled and he plays, he's still under contract, he's still playing. He could go through the season like that. You still have time at the end of the year. The team still holds. This is the important part to remember. The team still holds the cards here and the leverage when it comes to they could put the transition tag on him. They could put the franchise tag on him if they want at the end of the year. They can still negotiate until the middle of March next year exclusively with James Cook. So I don't think the Bills are feeling any sort of, shivering on how they have to approach it and have some sort of deadline right now. The deadline for them is probably March 15th next year, whenever, free agency begins, to be quite honest with you.
Sal Capacio on the Wester Hotline. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here. The Bills on the field today. Joey Bosa not on the field today, right, Sal? What happened to him?
He was working out at the team facility and apparently suffered a calf injury. So he is going to be out for, as Sean McDermott said, the foreseeable, spring and future in the spring. He said foreseeable as a word, but it was like basically he said he's out for the rest of this period, and then he believes he should be able to go for training camp. But since it happened recently, they are still in the exploratory stages of exactly what the injury is. But usually McDermott doesn't say something like, we expect him back if he's not pretty sure that's the case, right? He doesn't like to paint himself into a corner, so I'm guessing that is the case. That being said, it's concerning, right? I mean, like you have this guy who's had an injury history here, and he's getting a little bit older, and, they're not even on the field playing yet, and he suffered a soft tissue injury, a calf injury, while working out. I mean, that's not ideal, and, it's something that it's going to be in the back of your heads now. Whether he comes back full throttle for training camp or not, it's something you probably are keep thinking about.
Yeah, no question. I mean, all the same cracks that were made when he signed here originally, I was seeing some of, bubble wrap till January. There's probably a lot of merit to that. I mean, we're not even out of May, and we're already missing the rest of spring here. So, not what you'd call the best start to the thing here, I guess, for a guy with his history. Right. No question about that.
Well, the Bills went out and addressed the defensive line in several ways this offseason. But let's remember, obviously, as you guys know, there are two major free agent signings, Michael Hoyt, Larry Ogunjobi, three now, counting Bosa, the other two. Mm-hmm. Michael Hoyt and Larry Ogunjobi are not able to play the first 6 weeks. And all of a sudden you have Joey Bosa hanging up in the air if he's going to be ready for training camp. That's it. The only other free agent they signed was Casey Rogers, who's like a journeyman been in the league. That's it. A guy that nobody really knows. So, don't give him much of a shot to make the team. Other than but that's been that was the spot they really invested most of their resources in this offseason with this particular position. And all those resources they invested in the offseason from, before the draft, none of them are able to play right now, as far as two guys for 6 weeks when the regular season starts and one guy right now until at least training camp.
Sal, did I hear that you spent some time with Elijah Moore today?
I did. And, I'll share more on that and write a little bit about it later and tomorrow and later this week. But he was really engaging and interesting. And, he I think he's very also self-aware. He talked a little bit about being in the right situation, how much that's got to matter. I told him, hey, there were people really on you on the draft. I said, I work in radio at our radio station. A lot of us really wanted the Bills to draft you when you came out, right? And he basically was like, I know, I would have loved to come here, but I can't choose where I go, right? And he kind of laughed. And he talked about, you got to put these things delicately. I'm not going to trash the Jets or the Browns to him when I talk to him, but I said, honestly, you've been to places where they haven't had a lot of team success, but here it is different. What is the difference? And, he just talked about the approach every day and seeing what it takes to play at a place like this and how, okay, now his eyes are kind of open to where he was versus where he is and the opportunity and how that all has to present itself. And then you have to take advantage of it. And I was honest and asked him, hey, you could have stayed in Cleveland for more money, basically, but you're betting on yourself to make more money eventually in Buffalo. He said, yeah. He said, because I know what I can do, and I'm planning on doing it here, basically.
Well, that is certainly a piece that I feel like the timing of it even, I'm glad it came up today that he's here because it was not in the main thrust of free agency, and it's an easy thing to sort of like blow past with all the hoopla about receiver. I mean, it probably in a certain way is also hard to forget, but just it's a good reminder. Like that's a guy that maybe, it's one of these. It's more of a shot than, say, like a Claypool was last year because Elijah Moore has not been like out of the league yet. And, journeyman, he's been a couple places. Maybe he can find a home because there has always been a pretty intriguing skill set there, I think.
And can I tell you this, guys? I thought he had a really good day today. Now, of course, everything's in context, right? It's hard to parse these things. We're at OTAs. They're not hitting each other. You're not really trying to tackle a guy, take him to the ground, or you gotta be cognizant of all this. But I will tell you, like Josh Allen hooked up with Elijah Moore on a couple of nice plays down the field today. And, that's just something that you see that and you're like, okay, like what is there? Can that translate? Can that move on as you go more into the offseason, then training camp, and then into the regular season? But I really liked his day today. I thought that he looked good catching the ball. I thought that Josh and him had some chemistry, so that was nice to see, obviously.
How about what McDermott had to say about Keon Coleman? I think in a certain way, given the stance Bean has taken on the build of his wide receiver room, there's plenty of focus. I think there'll be a lot of conversation about Coleman and what's happening there this year. And you got to be encouraged hearing McDermott talk about the apparent work that Coleman put in prior to now.
Yeah, he said when he came back in, he was in really good shape. You could tell that he's been working. And all the things that we kind of talked about and they talked about and we subsequently talked about, at the end of the season with Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid. And he used the word proud, that he's really proud of what he's been doing. And, that's got to translate now onto the field and continue on. And look, we're not talking about a player here who in his first year was a bust. I don't think anybody would say that. I hope nobody would. I wouldn't. But you are talking about a player here who was on a really good trajectory and started to really show some flashes. And then once he had the injury and you didn't see him for 4 or 5 weeks, he came back, and that's when it just didn't go well for him. And that's what the talk has been. Can he get back to where he was right before the injury and playing at that sustained level and maintaining that consistency? And in order to do that, it's about understanding the grind of a season. It's about getting your body and your mind in the right spot to deal with those bumps and bruises. And I think after what Sean McDermott said today, that was really encouraging. And then you go out on the field, and I just posted some video. I have it at our website on my story, but also on my X feed. And there's quite a few clips I have of Coleman catching the ball and running some routes. And again, it's nothing, earth-shattering looking at him and doing it, but, you can get a sense and just watch him out there. So I really liked what Sean McDermott said about him today.
I wouldn't say bust. I'm trying to think of a scenario where I would ever say it about a guy after one season. Right. Because no matter what the season was, you're going to get, the team's already invested. Elam, you're going to get the obligatory, he's young. Not everybody's learning curve, growth curve is the same. So there's all of that. And he also was not a first-round pick. So the farther you go in the draft, obviously, the less bust is even really the word for a guy that doesn't make it. But it is 29 catches for a guy that, went to a Josh Allen team, the big play potential, all of it. 19 yards per catch shouldn't be ignored. But it's 29 catches, and the Bills are going to want to, about double that number, I would think.
Yeah, I agree with you. And, there's only one football, right? Everybody eats, one football to go around. You'd love to double that. You'd also love to see Dalton Kincaid's, his targets uptick. And then you bring in Josh Palmer, and then you have Elijah Moore we're talking about. So it's tough, right? It's tough to have everybody have that happen to, but I think you got to make the most of your opportunities. For me, it wasn't the volume for Keon Coleman, Mike. It was, I think when he came back, he just didn't make the most of his opportunities, or maybe they didn't go as well, right? When there were times where he was targeted. Like look at the attempt, or I should say the target to catch rate, as the season went on. It wasn't great all year, but it really just kind of was nothing towards the end of the year and into the playoffs. There just were times, that Seattle game, he goes up on Tariq Woolen and makes that play, right? He has I think a nice Miami game before the injury, if I remember right. And then just he comes back from injury, and it was seemed like whenever the ball was thrown to him, there just was not a play to be made. That's what has to change, I think.
After Seattle, he gets hurt maybe against the Dolphins.
Right.
Yes.
So after Seattle, he plays 8 games, including the playoffs, and he had more than one catch in 2. And that includes New England, where, it was Mike White throwing him passes. Didn't the game end kind of on a series of passes to Keon Coleman in that 2 catches on 10 targets? Might not want to blame Coleman for that stat line. But in the playoffs, 8 targets, 3 catches for a total of 22 yards. There's not an impact there. So I think we've said it all on him, right? I mean, it's just... You just got to hope and work at getting to a higher level.
Sal, before we let you go, you also, and anybody that was out there watching and has seen your social media feed, would have experienced Tre'Davious White back on the field with the Bills. And what were your observations on him?
Yeah, the two things that kind of stood out to me from today. One was Tre'Davious White, and to me was just seeing him back, number 27, right? Just there's Tre'Davious White again. And honestly, guys, I know that it's fresh, it's the offseason. I mean, he's only 30 years old, so it's not like he's super old. But, when you're a little bit older and it's fresh in the offseason, you might look a little more refreshed. But we know Tre'Davious is a hard worker. But, man, the quick feet, you watch the quick feet, that he's always had those feet. And the start and the stop, it was really good. I really liked the way he looked today. He played a lot. He was on the field a lot today. And, you guys know, the way this works. I can't report all these specifics, right? But I can tell you, he was in all situations, and he made plays. He also got beat. Elijah Moore beat him on a play. But that's going to happen in these situations. I just really liked seeing him out there. I liked what I saw from how he kind of just reacted to everything. When he got beat one time by Elijah Moore, he was really hard on himself. Man, I should have made that play. Didn't stay with him, right? But again, these are things that are going to happen as the course of practice and games. But he also was really involved in making a couple plays, which was really nice to see. So I love that from Tre'Davious White. So let's see if that can keep going. The other thing, guys, is Vince Carter was out there today. Bills, one of the Bills' new minority investors/owners. And we spoke to him for 10 minutes. And I'm going to say, I think Zach has posted it on the on-demand at WGR550.com and the Odyssey app. I think it's 10 minutes worth anybody's time to listen to Vince Carter. It was just really, really good to hear from this guy. He's just so good and so on point for this unbelievable player who played so long, till he was 43 years old in the NBA, Hall of Famer. He one of the greatest players, ever. One of, I guess all whatever teams and stuff. And to hear him talk about what he sees when he watches Josh Allen and Deion Dawkins, what he witnesses when he walks into the Bills at one Bills drive. And I just thought it was really interesting and honest, and it was awesome. So I just recommend that for anybody.
Very good. Thanks, Sal.
You got it, guys.
That's our Sal Capacio on the West Her Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet?
Lines open for your calls. James Cook not here. Other Bills topics, 803-0550. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog will be back after the update. This is WGR.
this morning. Bills head coach Sean McDermott did speak with the media before the players hit the field and did confirm James Cook, the only player not in attendance, while Joey Bosa, while here, did not participate as he's dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out till training camp. Sal Capacio, who was in attendance, has more today up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton tonight at 8. Edmonton has won 2 straight. They hold a 2-1 series lead. And then also at 8, Game 4, Knicks Pacers in Indiana. Through 3 games, no home team has won a game in this series. Bison's home versus the Knights. That's just after 6 o'clock. Can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520, and some late afternoon baseball in the majors. 7:10, the Mets host the White Sox at 8. The Blue Jays in Texas versus the Rangers. Then at 9:30, the Yankees on the road versus the Angels. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It is concerning. Durability, availability are key ties to our roster. And so we basically look ahead in terms of what he's doing now, which is getting himself the treatment that he needs, and he's working hard at it. And that's all that he can control right now. And, we get him back when we get him back, probably at this point, training camp. So, we're going to do the best job we can, and I know he is as well, and just take it one day at a time.
Sean McDermott on Joey Bosa, calf injury. Sal, we talked it out with him. Like, McDermott there, and according to Sal, seemed pretty sure that Bosa would be available to them at training camp. I hope I'm not misstating that. If so, he's got a calf strain and he'll be out 2 months. And that should be plenty of time to get right.
That's how I heard it.
Anything more serious, McDermott might have sounded and
more worried
said
about
different.
it. Yeah.
But like a tear or something, that could keep you out.
Right.
I don't know about for the year, but that would be obviously a more serious injury. So I was only mostly kidding when they signed Bosa to just not touch him until November. You mentioned today, like you've seen some of that again today. And, here's why. And you get him back for training camp and then you ramp up. I can't know that he'll get hurt.
Right, but history is not kind.
I just wonder if the Bills would ever get to a point, or maybe they have already in ways that we haven't really realized because it's not so much in the public, but where you would really just, okay, the playoffs are it, and we're just going to tiptoe through the season with you. Joey Bosa is not going to be the difference between this team making the playoffs and not. I think we would all say that. So...
if in any way it comes down to that, something else has gone drastically wrong.
You could make an argument that because of one play or a number of plays, he ends up being the difference, or anybody ends up being the difference between the 1 seed and not. That doesn't all just have to be about Josh Allen. You have you can make that point. But getting in the playoffs, you want the higher seed, sure. But it's all about that. And I wonder if they'll ever get to a point with this player or any player where they would basically, whether they're winking at you or even coming out with it, they'd probably want to be careful if doing that, where this would happen. I don't follow it closely enough to be able to give you details, but I follow it this closely. The Dodgers are so good that whenever there's a pitcher gets hurt or there's an injury, and it happens a lot actually with the Dodgers, and they are so deep that they just have someone else, and it doesn't seem to faze them. But the assumption people make is that, or maybe, again, I don't follow it that closely, maybe the Dodgers even say it. The assumption people make is that they will go really slow with the injury because they will be in the playoffs. No team, I believe, in the history of baseball, since odds, have had better odds to make the postseason than they. So, all right, you got a calf strain, just go hang out.
Yeah.
And we'll, see you when we need you. And when's that? October. And for the Bills, that's January. So it's a different sport. It's a shorter season. There'd be more randomness.
Way fewer games. Yeah. There's a bunch of reasons that it's different, but.
And it's the kind of thing that football coaches would hate.
Right.
Like they would be offended by the idea that anybody would.
Yeah, why? If anyone out there is saying, well, why? Well, because of the other people on the team who are all going to put the work in and be counted on week in and week out. And you're sort of, team sports in general, but I think in particular football, maybe more so than the others, is about being one of the 53, right? Do your job, 1/11th, all that sort of stuff. And creating a scenario where you have, for your benefit, sure, artificially made a construct where I'm not going to ask this guy to pay the price everyone else is paying. He outranks you. He matters more, and therefore his health in January is at a premium and yours is not. That is not a message any football team wants to send to the masses, to the locker room. I'd love to know how, if ever, how much that sort of thing has already happened under our noses, and we just don't know because it's not something they would ever put on a billboard.
Well, right. I mean, I don't even think, for me, it's not as much the message to the rest of the team because you couldn't defend it. You know, he's important, right? So I think you can defend it. I don't think you would love that message, delivering that message, but I think it's makeable. I think it's sort of against everything to have a healthy player not play because you are saving him for the playoffs, which means you are taking the playoffs for granted. Mm-hmm. And I just think coaches, maybe in all sports, would just be loath to settle for that. But I think the Dodgers kind of do it because, it's probably smart. And it might be smart for the Bills to do this with Bosa. I mean, you're talking about a part-time player anyway. Whether he's...
Yeah, he's a rotational guy. What are you hoping for? 50% of the snaps?
I mean, that would be
going in.
Lot.
Yeah, that would be high. But maybe that's your ceiling. That's what you sign him hoping he'll be able to do for you. So, it's not like it's, oh, no, we're not going to have a guy to put there or even a good guy to put there if he's not around. Because somebody else is going to play those other 50% of the snaps or even more than that. I'm just pulling 50% out, whatever. I don't need, if he's good at that, there's got to be a balance. Like, I don't want to overdo it. I do want longevity, at least, i.e., as it pertains to this season. I want you to get to the finish line and obviously have an impact when it really matters the most. And when is that? That's getting a stop in January. That's a strip sack of Mahomes when he's driving to a go-ahead field goal on you or whatever it is. It's some big play. It's Von Miller all over again, the closer. Like, that's why you're taking a flyer on Bosa, I think, is to get those plays. I'm not going to worry too much about him defending the run. Not that even came up, but just, I don't know, dropped it in for no reason.
Well, okay.
The longer we sit here silently, it emphasizes that I didn't need to say that. I'm the one who did it. No
the Bandits have announced that their championship rally will be Friday at 5.
What a perfect idea that is. I hope it's nice out on Friday. The weather looks a little sketchy this week, but still, Friday at 5. Good timing. You don't need this 11 a.m. on a Wednesday business.
These parades?
Yeah.
Yeah, NFL parades, Super Bowl parades always seem to be like on a weekday morning.
Right.
This is better. 5 to 6:30 at Alumni Plaza. Free and open to all fans. Player arrivals at 5:15. The Bandits won their third straight NLL title on Saturday afternoon, beating Saskatchewan 15-6. They become the first NLL franchise to win 7 titles. And, I mean, how much better can it get for them? 3 in a row and 5 finals in a row. Isn't it?
Yes.
2 losses and then 3 wins. I listened to most of the game. I was away with my son, who had his own lacrosse to play, and followed the game on WGR. And I was kind of blown away. They did the same thing last year or the year before, where they just ran away with the final.
Yeah, I got in at 7-6. All right, so
Halftime.
early second half, I'm 7-6, like, oh boy, this is going to be really tense. And then it just became like 51-3. Like, it's just like 8 straight goals and just bam, bam, bam. And like, oh, I think they're comfortable. Oh, I think they're cruising. Oh, I think this is over. It's a pretty good way to spend a half of lacrosse, or, about anyway. I mean, they didn't pull away immediately, but yeah, I mean, they just had the thing in a headlock.
So congrats to them and their fans who are so loyal. We'll take a break, 803-0550 to reach us. James Cook not with the Bills today. What about it? We'll talk plenty more about that as we go through the 5 o'clock hour. Paul Hamilton will join us at 6 to talk about the NHL playoffs, the Amherst exit, also Tage Thompson, the golden goal for Team USA at the Worlds. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. Voluntary minicamp season. No James Cook at Bills practice. 803-0550 if you want to talk about that with us. We will be talking about it. No DK Metcalf at Steelers practice. I think it was Will Graves who's been on with us tweeting how he wasn't there, but Mason Rudolph and Pat Freiermuth basically both vouched for him, that they've seen him at the facility a lot.
Okay.
Still? New team?
Yeah.
Maybe he's got a good reason. Maybe it's just voluntary, so I'm a star and I'm not coming. It doesn't have to be like that.
No, right. There could be, life, something. Who knows? It's just one day. I mean, I don't know if this is a storyline that they're expecting to extend. Maybe it will. But yeah, I wouldn't be worried about that.
If that were my team, I'd be ticked, but I'd be afraid to admit it. Like I honestly would just be,
almost solely because he's new.
Yeah. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Here I am. I'm the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I can't seemingly ever get to a point, this is going to be like a dramatic overreaction, where I don't have a wide receiver that I have to worry about, like this their mental state. And so I had George Pickens, and he was kind of good, but I was he was always in the news for whether he wanted to run his routes and just different things about him that made you ask these questions. They got Metcalf first, but they get rid of Pickens. Again, who's good? They get rid of Pickens and bring in DK Metcalf, and now it's voluntary time. And
he's not there, right?
Can I ever just have it normal?
Yeah.
And also, Kirk Cousins not at Falcons voluntary. He's a backup. Lots of trade speculation always with Kirk Cousins. Hasn't happened yet, but if it does, I could see why you wouldn't want him, on the field.
I don't think either party would want him on the field in that case. Like, if I'm him, I want to protect myself and my health for a new team where I'm going to have an opportunity to probably start. And if I'm the Falcons and I'm going to try to facilitate that trade, regardless of what I think I'm getting back, I want him healthy. I need him healthy to complete the transaction and get that off the books.
Right.
So that makes a lot of sense.
And an Achilles injury, not that you can really be this fine a point on it, but he's had a torn Achilles. They say people with that injury are likelier to have it a second time.
So just take it easy.
Than people who've never had it. That's Aaron Rodgers, too. Mm-hmm. And he's just hanging out somewhere.
Right. Aren't the Steelers going to trade for Kirk Cousins? Are they going to? Is it Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph? Or is there, are they going to go through the depth charts?
I think it's Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. Talking to Andrew the other day, that they want him and they're willing to let him take his time, it seems.
And if they don't get him, they're fine going that route instead of trying to get what might be the next best guy.
I guess. Former Steelers playoff starting quarterback Mason Rudolph in their game against the Bills a couple of years ago. Also, one more that I saw, Travis Etienne not in with Jacksonville. Sneaky Joe put a tweet out about if the Bills wanted to trade James Cook. He mentioned DeAndre Swift and the Bears. That's a player on ADP chasing today, by the way. We talked about at length, DeAndre Swift. Trying to figure out it's the guessing time of the year where you have a couple of quotes from the coach, you have their actions, but then nothing else. It's all we've got. DeAndre Swift was with the Lions before he went to Philadelphia after that, and this new Bears coach, Ben Johnson. A lot of the discourse on Swift for years has been about whether his coaches like him. Deuce Staley was the running backs coach who maybe wasn't a fan of DeAndre Swift. And one knock on him is he's trying to make everything a home run. He's always just trying to bounce everything outside. And
doesn't take the 7 yards when it's there.
Doesn't take the hard yards. So what are the Bears planning to do? The Bears did not draft one of the many promising rookie prospects, running backs, in the draft. Reportedly, they wanted to. There was the talk about where New England drafted in the second round, Chicago. They end up making the trade with the Bills. The Bears do at one point. They had the two early seconds, rather, one on Luther Burden, and then one ended up being T.J. Sanders. after the Bills trade.
Right. Okay.
But it never happened. So what does it likely tell you the Bears are going to do with Swift, or that what they're thinking? There's nobody new. And maybe this coach didn't hate him. He didn't replace him. He didn't do anything to move Swift, at least not yet. So maybe that is something that Joe had in mind when he brought up that idea. Swift is more money than Cook, but not as good, probably. I'm not sure there's a big difference. I'm not sure the difference matters much either. Mm-hmm. Also, the guys this morning talk about Swift like he is known to not be a good pass blocker, but PFF has said different in his career.
Okay.
So I don't know what to do with that. But is a trade, what odds would you put on? What percent chance would you put on a Cook trade? Less than 10?
Yeah, not much at all. It's certainly not before we get to like August. Like I don't think they
right.
I think they're standing where they're standing and they're comfortable where they're standing, which is we have a value. We have all the only hammer the player has is his services, and even that comes with the caveat of you're really standing still in your career. You don't come in, it costs you money, and you don't, a year doesn't toll off your existence in the league. Like you're still ours. So your move, kid. Like it's a tough spot for the player. The reason these things can be as acrimonious as they sometimes are, because the player really, even the power they have, which is the service, comes with a detractor, a negative from their end that it's just hard to win that fight. So I think the Bills should stand where they're standing and take whatever hits come, emotional morale type stuff from the player or even the team if they're bothered by it, and just expect that when it comes to it, he'll be there and he'll do what he can to try to get a big contract probably somewhere else.
Talk some more about this. 803-0550 if you'd like to get in on the conversation. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, back after sports. This is WGR.
It was media day today over at Bills OTAs. Head coach Sean McDermott did speak with the media today before the players hit the field. James Cook, the only player not in attendance, and Joey Bosa, while here, did not participate. He is dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out until training camp. On Cook, McDermott had this to say on his Pro Bowl running back's absence.
Yeah, we're staying in touch like you'd expect a player and a coach to do. So, James will be here when he's ready to be here, and, we move forward.
Sal Capacio has more today up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton at 8. Edmonton has won 2 straight. They hold a 2-1 series lead. And then also at 8, Game 4 of Knicks Pacers in Indiana. And through 3 games, no home team has won a game yet in this series. Bisons are at home tonight versus the Knights just after 6. That can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. Then in the majors, 7:10, the Mets host the White Sox. At 8, the Blue Jays in Texas versus the Rangers. While at 9:30, the Yankees are on the road versus the Angels. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Mike Schopp.
You might be mocking me or you might be staunchly agreeing with me. I can't tell.
I'm mocking you.
And the Bulldog
What is Fozzie Bear's role in this production?
on WGR Sports Radio 550.
Do you want to say that last thing or do you want me to? I was thinking it too. Simultaneously.
McDermott there in the sports update referring to his communication with Cook. We're communicating like you would expect a player and a coach to be communicating during the offseason. And each time I've heard that today, I've had the same thought, which is I don't think I have an expectation of that, or I've not thought about an expectation there. My inclination is mostly that I would think that there would be almost none. Unless a guy's getting, his significant other's having a baby, or he's getting married, something like that. Otherwise,
a life event.
Yeah, a life event. Otherwise,
Sure.
it's just it's the off season.
Right. Does he have like a list of players he calls every day?
Right.
Sort of like 5 a day, 10 a day?
Right. Hey,
Is it literally a call?
Check in, how everything's going, buddy. We're counting on you. I don't know.
This could be
maybe,
a text.
Maybe.
In touch.
Yeah, a text, yes. I'm not assuming a conversation, on the phone, but
I think the right
a
follow-up
text.
the right follow-up question today would have been then, did you know he wasn't going to be here? Right? Because
Right.
they're in touch, and would Cook have misled him? Like Sal's like, it's not surprising
Right.
that he's not here, so McDermott probably knew if they're communicating.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm in a certain place on this, and I'm going to lay it out hoping that it doesn't come out as contradictory, with itself. Like, I think, so Cook's number through Twitter has been $15 million a year. That's big for a running back. I mean, there are bigger contracts for running backs, but that's kind of elite level for a player at his position. Publicly, that's where he's been. The Bills are not going to pay him that, or they haven't yet, at least. It would be pretty incredible if they did. If they did that, then it's like, why didn't you just do that already? Like, what was all this for? Whatever all this is. So they would have a lower number. His number this year is $5.3 million. Earlier, I used $10 million. I'm thinking about Mike Giannitti from Spot Track, who was on with us a couple of months ago, and thought Cook might be in position for a contract that pays him $10 million a year. It's not that close to 15, so it would, in my mind, work from when Brandon Beane said, we're just not, in so many words, we're not close enough now to dig in on this. It'll wait until after the draft at least. So 10 for me could be where the Bills are. If they're much higher, maybe there's a deal by now. Mm-hmm. And if they could be lower, but much lower isn't much more than he's making.
Right.
So 10, I think, really works. 3 years, $30 million, whatever the guarantees are, these different things. That's my guess as to what it is. And so, okay, well, Cook he's absent. He hasn't been exactly quiet on the subject. It's not like he's doing a tour, but how he's feeling.
He's made his feelings known, I think. Yes, I want to trust that's where he is.
So he wants $15 million. I'm guessing the Bills would come in at 10. Maybe you'd say a little lower.
No, 10,
I don't know.
10 when you were talking this out 2 hours ago to start the show, 10 million was exactly the number that popped into my head.
And at this point, end
nice
of
round
May,
number.
nice round number, reminds me of Eichel. Why wouldn't it just be 8 for 80? And it was. It ended up being 8 for 80. So this one sort of like fits all around. He wants more. It's still May. He's not here. Works, makes sense. I doubt, unless the Bills go up from there by 2 weeks from now, when it's mandatory, he comes back for that. It's still only a few days. There are fines. That can get adjusted. We learned that earlier in the offseason on a rookie contract.
Right. Not everyone is eligible for that, but he is.
Okay. So I think
they have the fines forgiven in case it wasn't clearly spelled out. Okay, go ahead.
Unless the Bills go up from 10, which I'm saying is my guess at their number, he's not here in 2 weeks either, because it really wouldn't have been worth it. Like,
it's the first mandatory thing you're skipping. Like, if you want to be in any way, shape, or form perceived as taking a stand,
right,
skipping the voluntary stuff and showing up when it's going to cost you, a couple of nickels is not the look I think you want.
Okay, so now I'm to Father's Day. Now I'm past minicamp. I'm to vacation. Between minicamp and training camp. I'm to vacation. And he's not in yet, and there's no news of any progress or anything like that. There's no change. Sal was talking to us, and he's like, I think the Bills are pretty dug in. I think they could justify that. I think they could justify offering James Cook less than $10 million a year. The whole discourse about running backs has been about that. I think they could be there. But here's finally the point. I doubt they would mess with the equilibrium of their team over a couple of $1 million in James Cook. I doubt they would do that. If they're offering him 10 and they're doing it with gritted teeth because they think it's a terrible idea, maybe. I doubt it's this, but maybe the Bills already are at a point where they think their offer is unreasonable, but they're still making it. Because that's just how we have to do this, and he's still a no, then you might be in some tough territory. But I doubt they would let this get away without capitulating at least some or a little bit more than they have. And then, in any negotiation at that point, you would hope for the other party, Cook, to be like, okay, that's fair, let's go. It wasn't 15, but I got 12. I got 11, whatever it is. I did better than I was going to do back in April. And I overall did pretty well here. And I'm cashing in on 16 rushing touchdowns because next year I'm going to have 6.
There's nothing here that's contradictory, and I like the thinking because it basically, I don't know that you've exactly said it directly like this, but the idea is that the Bills, in a negotiation that they would have anticipated to be maybe arduous, that was going to push them into maybe an uncomfortable position, uncomfortable financial position, that they're holding a little back for the summer.
Yep.
So that once he skips mandatory minicamp and they want to sit down, they can, with a peace of mind, not with a gun to their heads, but like having thought it through. All right, we're going to have this. This is our position, and this is I'm walking off the lot. Right. This is where I'll go if in an effort to make peace ultimately, because whatever scenario ends up happening, like my most talked about it, my what I think I would predict is going to happen is that they don't get anything done. He skips minicamp, shows up at camp, is holding in for a while, eventually just push is going to come to shove. The extension's not coming. I've got a decision to make about the year. I'm playing, and that's it. All right? That's not a peaceful situation necessarily. The player, of course, has the most to say about how noisy it will get or be. And maybe he just puts his head down and does his job and knows I'm at the end here and I'm going to get paid somewhere else. God willing, I stay healthy. There's all kinds of concerns that come with that, but sure. it's still not optimal from the Bills' standpoint. They know they've got a guy that, if he's not disgruntled, is at least gruntled. Maybe the team is bothered to some extent because their guy's not getting taken care of, and they feel bad because they got theirs and he's not getting his, and like that sucks for everybody, in some way, shape, or form. So you'd want to alleviate that if you can, but it has to be within a construct that you can live with. I cannot foresee a scenario where the Bills would go to a place where it would hurt, where like they would really say, like, I didn't want to do this, but we felt like we had to. At the end, it is still a running back. And I think that will still prevail for them. That's not to say that they wouldn't have some wiggle room, but frankly, I hope $10 million is their ceiling. This is not personal about James Cook. I don't know James Cook. I've admired his play. I think he's been a very important player for them.
He's fine.
But you're right. He's still a running back who plays, 40% of the snaps, and is not someone that you should pay thinking you're going to feed him 70% of the snaps. He's not that guy. He's not built like that. I don't. Easy for me to say. I've never seen him tested like that. He didn't play like that in college, and he's not played like that here. So to suddenly pay him and then say, I'm going to turn him into a workhorse would be misguided, maybe at best. It could be a disaster at worst. So where do you end up? You end up at, I don't want to pay the top of the market rate for a guy that is he's a part of a rotation.
Yeah, I guess. I guess what's contradictory to me is, as somebody, philosophically, that feels that way about running backs too, and have for many years, I still kind of doubt the Bills would hold a hard line there. I doubt he gets $15 million, but I bet he does great with them because there's too much. In terms of image, if not also on the field, there's too much at stake. And the cap is a joke, right? I mean, the cap is a joke. It's not real. But, I mean, the Bills have written their share of, I think, bad contracts. Like Knox and maybe Vaughn. Like, there are contracts that, like, oh, my God. Are they just in a mood here? Like, what is this? Maybe every team has. You could maybe find that on every team. I mean, the Bills are not frugal at all. And so I think they'll end up at a point where they'll pay him and he'll look like he did great. And the Bills will go, okay, we didn't lose per se, but what we did is we found a little bit more money in our budget to avoid any sort of discord, any sort of loggerheads with this player, with their starting running back on a team that won 15 games. And he scored 20 touchdowns or whatever it was in the end with the playoffs. It would surprise me. This is where you and I are different.
Yeah.
We're not going to maybe know this answer, or at least for a while. But it just hasn't been their way. Why does everything sort of get done so smoothly? Because they'll give you the money. Mostly they just haven't, it's obviously broad brush, but they haven't been in these predicaments. And that's the easiest way to avoid them is to say yes. Like some of these deals, who was the one where I said it this way all the time? Like, what was this negotiation? The player asked for this, and like Knox would be an example. The player asked for this, and the Bills went, okay. I mean, no offense, but sometimes that's how these kind of things read. And so that is where I think
let the player fill in the number, basically.
Yeah, blank check.
It was a Sabres thing that I remember you getting like that about. I don't remember the player specifically.
Skinner or somebody like.
It was just like, okay, how hard was that?
Right, it was a Sabre.
Yeah,
I had one of those where I just was always saying the same thing, which was like, what was the negotiation like here? Was there one?
Right.
The player asked for X and got it.
Yeah. Well,
Bosa?
I myself, so you're saying that the contradiction potentially is how you feel fundamentally about running backs,
yes.
which is how I feel.
And about Cook himself.
Right. And yet you think they'll find, I don't think that's contradictory. It's two different things. Like how we feel, or you feel, or I feel about a situation that they have on their hands and what they're going to do, their motivation to alleviate it. We all want the same thing. We want the best guys on the team, right? But they have knowledge of what it could do to their whole thing here. That's where the stakes come in, which you mentioned here. I mean, the stakes are extremely high. They're trying to win the first championship in the history of the city, and obviously the franchise. So and they're a team that's favored to be able to do it. It's not like there's some dark horse or something. It's like the stakes are plain. Everyone knows them. So harmonious is where you want to be as best you can with, a pro sports enterprise. And they control a large extent of that. I mean, they can't control what James Cook wants, but they can control how far they're willing to go to get him to a place where things would be considered harmonious. And if they aren't willing to extend to somewhere that might be even uncomfortable, then you've got a real dilemma on your hands. Like, to me, it's not worth being of the opinion that running backs shouldn't be paid this top dollar because they're so replaceable. If the first time you're faced with the opportunity or the challenge of having to pay one, you just go, okay, we'll just pay you. And again, easy for me to say from out here. All right, well, I'm not the one building the team and doing all, but I would be surprised if they got anywhere near. I just don't anticipate them getting to a contract settlement with him. Is all I'm prepared to say. I just don't think they're going to do it.
And in that case, what happens?
I think he probably begrudgingly shows up and plays.
Yeah, and
then we argue about whether we can tell the difference.
Whether he's motivated.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and just like the Bills, it comes down to their. You wake up in the morning. Did he say yes? Is he here? No. Okay. You wake up the next morning. Did he say yes? Is he here? Like it plays out, but I just can't. I said already. I can't imagine the Bills risk that because that takes on a life of its own. I mean, anybody anymore in sports, it was not always like this. On the last year of their contract, that's a topic. Anybody in sports now, a coach, a player.
Yep.
It's not when he's up. It's the year before. And, all right, what are you going to do about it? And, in the Bills' case, they have done a lot about guys this offseason, Bernard and others who were 1 year away.
They got it done with everyone except Cook.
Yeah. So I just wouldn't think the Bills would take that chance that everybody is talking about this all the time and, it's the Ray Davis show if Cook just calls their bluff. That's what it's all about. Just who calls whose bluff, I guess. 803-0550 is the number. I don't think, if it does play out that way, that it really matters a lot in terms of on the field. I think of it more as off the field. And, maybe Bean will have another round of getting annoyed at the radio station talking about a thing he doesn't think matters that much. It's happened before. So what if it does, right? Somebody could be thinking that. So what if any of this happens? What's the worst case scenario?
I mean, teams go through it all the time. This group, with Bean and McDermott in charge, have not really had, they've not been in, on this bus at all, really. It's been a very smooth ride for 7, 8, it's going to year 9 now, right? McDermott was 8 years last year,
for him,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. So to have not really experienced any of that, it seems like it will be maybe a bigger deal out here than it ultimately will be. That's why I'm saying he doesn't show up for minicamp. I'm expecting him not to show up for minicamp. I would expect that they're expecting him not to show up for minicamp. And so whatever drama there's going to be, the football players will do the things that they do, and they will go on about their business, and eventually James Cook, I think, will show up. And that'll be that. So I'm not sure you're using the word risk a few times in laying all that out. And I risk might be a little, it feels more like an inconvenience than a risk to me. I think, sure, it could go sideways. He could try to skip games and really be a problem. I just don't think that happens that often anymore. And now, often, that being said, that's because the team capitulates in some way, because they want harmony. They want everything to be lined up so that there's no thing that we can point at and go, well, you didn't do this, and look at what happened.
That will happen here. I'm very confident that will happen here. I don't know the current number, but it'll be because Cook is just going to show up on his current contract and get asked about it all and be like, oh, whoops, didn't work. Oh, well, let's go win a Super Bowl. I think there will be a compromise, and the Bills will look like they've spent a lot of money on that position. They will anyway. It'll look like that anyway. If Cook walks in with whatever their current offer would be, it can look like that anyway.
Yep.
But for a little bit more, everybody wins. That's what happens. They could use my strategy when I go buy a car. I guess I'm Cook then, right? I'm not the organization. I'm the customer.
Right.
I'm the employee, or in Cook's case, I'm the customer. And I know, like, buying a car isn't everybody's favorite thing to do. You feel like, you just don't know anything, and the dealership knows everything, and they're just sort of going to rough you up. Just not referring to any particular place.
They're going to try to make you feel like they're doing something really special for you when, in fact, they're probably almost definitely not.
You know what? Right now, I want to do this year, but I got to talk to Ron. I got to go talk to Ron.
Right. I'm going to go talk to the other guy. Yeah.
And I say, every time I say this, my father's going to ask me how this went. Just don't embarrass me in front of him. Tell me I got something out of you. Like, just, you can make it up. I don't know. Talk to Ron. Don't talk to Ron. Give me something.
Throw in the undercoating. You get the undercoating. Give me the undercoating.
Give me a hood ornament. Let me be able to tell my father that we had this process, and, I pushed a little bit. Dad, I did. I pushed a little bit, and I got this out of him, and I was content with that. It wasn't, I didn't pay sticker, right? I'm not paying sticker.
Right.
Just don't make me look bad in front of my father. That's all I want.
How's that usually go for you?
Great. No, it works every time. I don't know what I'm getting. I can't tell you what I would be paying or what I'm paying instead. I don't know.
You sound like you really drive a hard bargain.
I know. I can at least say to my I didn't just say yes right away. We did this process here, and I got this out of him. Whatever it is, a little bit of a break. But Cook is me. Just don't make me look bad in front of my brother. My brother was a pretty public example, wanting to get paid as a running back for years. I'm doing it now. Don't make me look bad.
He's even helping me do it to some extent.
Yeah. Just don't make me look bad here. That's all. If he comes down with $11 million a year, he looks great. And it's more than the Bills want to pay him, but how much more? Does it really matter that much? He's on the field for you. You're not questioning his effort ever. All of that. You get all of that in the deal. You get that's the package, that's the interior, that's the leather seats, that's everything. That's what I'm getting.
Well, I can't wait for a scenario where that happens, which is a lot to assume, and I'm not assuming it, but where you are, okay, they make that happen, and he goes from 16 touchdowns to 6.
Which he will, almost for sure.
It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
He will not score 16 touchdowns again in his career. I did say that about Allen every year for a long time, and that has never gone away. But Cook is not Allen.
No.
You score 2 one year, then you score 16. Everybody will predict that number comes way down, except maybe, some fans, but I certainly will. 803-0550 if you have a thought on this. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR.
Hey, it's Bulldog here. FanDuel is giving all New York users a live profit boost every day, like today, that the New York Knicks are in action during the NBA playoffs. You can use your live profit boost on bets like who's going to win the game, how many points your favorite Knicks player is going to score, and so much more. And if your bet hits, well, you're going to get an even bigger payout thanks to that profit boost. This profit boost is only for customers in New York, so don't miss your chance to score bigger winnings every Knicks game day during these playoffs. Just visit FanDuel.com/Bulldog for more info. Again, that's FanDuel.com/Bulldog, and make every moment more with FanDuel during the NBA playoffs. Official sportsbook partner of the NBA and WGR. Must be 21 plus and physically present in New York. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
It was a media day today for Bills OTAs. We did hear from head coach Sean McDermott before the players hit the field. No James Cook at OTAs, while Joey Bosa is here. He, though, did not participate. He's dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out until training camp. Sal Capacio has more today up at our website, WGR550.com. The Broncos announced today wide receiver Demaryius Thomas will be inducted into the team's Ring of Fame. Thomas was with the organization from 2010 to 2018, achieved 5 Pro Bowls, and was also part of the Super Bowl 50 winning team. Thomas, though, did pass away at the age of 33 in 2021. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton at 8 o'clock. Edmonton has won 2 straight. They take a 2-1 series lead. Also at 8, Game 4 of Knicks Pacers in Indiana. And through 3 games, no home team has won a game in this series. And the Bisons, they are at home tonight against the Knights. That game will get going just after 6 and can be heard on our sister station, The Bet 1520. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
I just know what I can do. At the end of the day, you got to believe in yourself. The world already is moving at a way to where people are scared to take risks, but it's not a risk. I know what I believe in. I lean on my faith. I lean on God. God is real to me, so I know what I can do. I work my ass off every single offseason. I work my ass off every single season, and I just know it. I'm the type of player that's going to show it. I just got to get in the right system, and I kind of slept on it, kind of going in thinking that kind of didn't abide. Maybe that you got players in sometimes not the best systems who can turn it around, but it does take all 11. It definitely takes all 11.
Elijah Moore
is on the Bills.
Will be the Bills' wide receiver what this year?
Ooh. Boy. Four.
Final? Pass catcher.
Yeah, I know. Right. And that's the fourth on the list of pass catchers on the Bills last year was like 20-some catches.
31.
31.
Mac Hollins, Curtis Samuel tied. Does that surprise you that Curtis Samuel had as many as Mac Hollins? 31?
I guess. Yeah, I guess in the end it does. So I'm signing up for 30 catches. If I say receiver 4. I mean, who's he going to catch more than? Palmer? I don't think so. Shakir? No.
Kincaid? No.
Kincaid? Better no. It better be a no. Then,
Cool.
I don't know.
Samuel even? Who's more relevant, Samuel or Elijah Moore?
I wonder that since they signed Moore has felt like it could be. And look, I'm just feeling around here. It's May, all right? That could be a one or the other thing to
Room
me.
for one guy?
Yeah. I think there's enough duplication there. And not say anything about the rest of the receiving core, which there's also plenty of that already. But I think Moore just sort of adds to it. It was like the one thing that you could raise your hand and say when when he was visiting, and then he ultimately pretty quickly turned around and signed him. Like, okay, but it's another guy who, sure, okay, so snap share. It's a little more varied than you think. He's not exactly pigeonholed as a slot guy more, but it's probably where most people would tell you he's makes the most sense to want to use him. And you can say that about how many of the Bills receivers.
All of them.
Right? So,
pretty much. Coleman, it's not even a joke. Coleman, yes. Right?
Yeah.
Big slot. Bill said no.
It's just not going to happen.
Samuel,
sure.
yes.
Yep.
Shakir, definitely. Kincaid is same, right?
Right.
F wide receiver.
So, it's I just want, if Samuel steps wrong again in the summer and there's a, whatever it is, it's an ankle or a toe or a quad or whatever, he's got something that's bothering him, I think he should be looking over his shoulder big time. I just think Moore is, if nothing less, Moore is, or if nothing more than this, I didn't want to say
it's
more.
It's tricky now, Moore. Right, Moore. His name is Moore.
He's Samuel insurance to some extent. Because if something were to happen and Curtis Samuel decided tomorrow, I'm done playing football, I can't do this anymore. Like, well, I've got Elijah Moore here.
Palmer I didn't mention when thinking about whether they all would be best suited for the slot. Palmer I don't think is. So he's one that I wouldn't say that about.
Okay.
Hollins is gone. Wouldn't say that about him. Cooper is not back. I wouldn't say that about him.
Right.
But of the guys they have, all of them except Palmer, I think, are probably in a vacuum your slot receiver.
So I just don't think all those guys have to make the team. I think you could live in a world where your 5 are on game day. Maybe there's a 6th who hangs around and doesn't get a uniform necessarily on game day, but you've got Palmer, Shakir, Coleman, one of Samuel or Elijah Moore, and who else? Who am I leaving out here?
I don't know. We have these conversations, and I feel like every time one doesn't get mentioned, and they all kind of sound the same. Put them in any order you want. Organizational incentives with Coleman and Kincaid, like bigger investments.
It really depends on what they're going to do with a guy like say Chenault, or if
now we're talking,
or if they want to leave some room for anyone to be a surprise. If the Terrell Shavers of the world, okay, but really the 5 guys I just mentioned are the top 5 guys on the depth chart. So maybe Samuel, somebody from the back would have to really work to displace one of those 5 guys, because the top 5 are the names that I mentioned. So maybe they don't have to choose between Moore or Samuel. But from a body type standpoint, wouldn't you maybe want to hang on to a bigger guy to have him around to do what Coleman's doing for you if something happens to Coleman or Palmer? So it could get crowded, and that's where the duplicate point. See, what a segment this has been. I had an opinion. I talked myself out of it, and I've talked myself right back out of it again.
Back into it again.
It's right. Sorry, I don't know out or in. I'm so confused.
More or less in out.
It's a long holiday weekend.
Coleman, Palmer, Moore, Samuel
in recovery here. But
it's the Bills receiver room in a microcosm here.
Right.
It's a nutshell.
Right.
It's like everything's confusing. The order is different every day. They're all. I mean, the drafted capital investment is a fine point in terms of Coleman and Kincaid, but the other guys all got paid pretty well.
Yeah.
Shakir, definitely. Shakir's not really a question. And Moore is almost 4 years younger than Curtis Samuel, by the way, even though he's been in the league.
Yeah.
Just turned 25.
Yeah.
So he's got that in his favor. I don't know.
I got to work to not be down on Samuel because of the way the season went.
He had a good playoff.
He did finish strong. Yeah, that's what I need to remember is that he finished strong. The problem is that came after months of often when in conversation about them, it taking me reading his name on the injury report to remember he's on the team. And I work here. Like that happened to me on a more than it should have basis. I won't say a regular basis because I knew Curtis Samuel was on the team intellectually, but it was easy to kind of forget about him.
Yes, it was.
But he did finish strong, and there's reason I think to think he was finally healthy, and you got a glimpse of it, and it was pretty effective. But maybe with a clean runway and a clean bill of health, he can stay healthy, and we get that.
Had a good playoff, which is what you got from me just then. It means this. 3 for 68 and a touchdown against Denver. There was that big one. 2 for 9 against Baltimore. 1 for 4 and a touchdown against Kansas City. Not massive.
That's
6 catches. That's 3 more than Coleman.
I don't think that's even good.
No, it's 2 touchdowns is what it is. Right. And in the meaningless Patriot game, he went 7 for 52. 5 for 58 and 1 against Kansas City. In the win in the regular season was his best game. Samuel. UnderdogFantasy.com has pick'ems, and they have an over-under. They don't call it over-under. Higher, lower. I need to remember this for tomorrow because I'm doing Matthew Collar's podcast tomorrow, and it's Underdog sponsored. It's very important.
You want to have the lingo down for them.
They're not over-unders at Underdog. It's more of like a casino term, I guess. For some reason, they don't call it that. Higher or lower. Higher or lower number of starts this year by Shadur Sanders. Want to guess the numbers? You're good at these. What line would have been set?
I don't know if I'm good at these.
For how many games he starts for Cleveland? Or if you rather, like, what would you guess he would? How much would he start? Want to take it from like what I would do is take it from that standpoint. Go
yeah. I'm going to say they set the number at 4.5.
2.5.
Ooh.
Well, Bulldogs in on higher for Shadur Sanders.
So I gotta go bet. Where is that again?
Underdog Fantasy. Use your account. You already have an account.
Yeah, sure.
At Underdog.
Yeah. Facial recognition and all that. They know who I am.
The schnauzer is up. The pug is up.
They see me coming.
The pug is up today. You know I'm on that. I have a pug.
You got to be in the pug.
I'm glad one of the big ones, the big dog is one of their bigger contests. The Rottweiler, one of these. I'm glad I don't have a bigger dog because that's like a higher entry fee. The pug is sort of a modest entry fee.
Befitting the name. Yeah, okay.
Not quite on the mini schnauzer level, but still, affordable. 2.5 starts for Shadur Sanders. I'm very curious, like I think we all are, like just how the Browns play it at quarterback with 2 rookies, Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. I think anything is possible. Anything is possible there. Week 1. They have the Bengals in week 1. Really, they could do. It's not going to be Dylan Gabriel, right?
No,
he's not going to start. That's not possible.
And I don't think it's going to be Shadur Sanders either.
Okay, well, probably not.
So
start with the veteran.
One of them. I would guess Flacco. I would expect him to look, if they're going to do it based on who looks best in practice. I'll bet Flacco's going to look the best in practice. So I think he'll win the job, and I hope he beats the Bengals.
Yes, I guess.
I'm not worried about the Browns too much, and I think you got reason to be worried about the Bengals. So ding them with a loss to the lousy Browns.
Good. And unless you have changed your mind, you're not taking them. That's not going to be your survivor pick. The Giants in Washington was going to be your survivor pick, right?
I don't remember now.
You have time.
Okay, good.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
3.5 months almost. 100 days.
Well, there you go.
You have 100 days. It's less than 3.5 months. Today is 100 days from the opening game.
Hey, what's a unit of measure to signify the passing of time that no one ever uses? I got it. 100 days. Great. Let's just get some graphics made up and get that all over the TV today.
It feels like more.
It always does.
It feels like it should be more than 100 days away. It just turned nice. Like it's summer now.
Yeah.
And already we're counting down the days to fall.
Well, we're not really. So, someone is.
No, that's right. You and I are not.
I'm not.
We're not. There's going to be any. Oh, it's 99 days away.
We're mentioning it today out of a professional obligation.
100 days.
That's it.
I remembered. When I was trying to estimate the amount of time, I remembered. Today is 100 days. Paul Hamilton will join us at 6. Lots of hockey to talk about. The playoffs resume tonight out west. Dallas at Edmonton, Game 4. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog here, WGR. We've asked Bulldog to hold his thought on Aston Villa so that we can resume the show and talk to a fan or two.
We'll have our EPL conversation during the break, I think.
Ron is with us. Hello, Ron.
Good afternoon, guys. I never felt this way till this year, but how close is McDermott to a Super Bowl appearance or bust-type season? His seat can't be cold. It's got to be pretty warm, right? Because we win a lot in the playoffs, but we can just never get to the Super Bowl. There's always that point about, look at the quarterbacks they've beaten, which I don't care, you win to win. But if they don't make Super Bowl this year, especially if they have a great year and they find a way to lose at a home game or something, are we starting to look at McDermott? Because we've had all kinds of teams under him so far, and he's the one constant. And I'll just hang up and listen. Thanks.
And that Ron, when he says hang up and listen, he means it.
Yeah,
nobody hangs up faster than Ron.
Gone in an instant.
I don't even get a chance to do it. No. It depends on how, for me. I'm sorry if I'm equivocating. It just depends on how. I have said, I think this is the year where if they have the same season again, and it's, easy, not even to have to be easy, in the division, you're in the playoffs, and it's another showdown against Kansas City or even someone else, and you can't stop them, that's a big ask. I know, because Mahomes and Jackson and all of it, even Burrow, but that's when I'm at a point, I think, where I feel like it's run its course. And my defensive head coach will, again, have not been able to author a winning result in that game. Next year is when I think I would feel like this is never going to change. I know there are people that are already there and have been there. Mm-hmm. I have not been one of them. But it happened again last year, and it was against a Kansas City team that sucked on offense all season. It happened again. And, I even after that wasn't ready to do it. But if it happens again next year, I say I will be. I predict that I will be.
Yeah, I mean, it's not it's such a tough one. The seat, the way the caller's phrasing it, is the seat at least warm? I don't know, honestly.
I don't either.
The good that's come with it. It's funny, I saw somebody, maybe Joe was at some point this morning, yeah, it was definitely this, was who's the most underappreciated person in the organization? Unsung Bills person. And someone tweeted at Joe, it's the coach. They've done a lot of things right. A lot of winning, 5 straight division titles, playoff wins every year, but just not enough of them. Not plural, right? So you're just sort of stuck. Sometimes twice they've won 2, and then lost in the third one. All important third one being the championship game. But you don't either get to have the job for life, and so something else has to change. What else can change? Josh Allen's not going anywhere. Lots of other parts of the team have been moved around. You've done this overhaul the defensive front thing twice already, right? I mean, there was a round of this after they lost the first AFC title game. It was Rousseau and Boogie Basham, and eventually a year later Von Miller. And we're addressing that. We're throwing assets and money at something that we think is a shortcoming, and now we're 4 years down the road from all of that, or 5 in the case of the draft picks, and we just did it again. They went back to that well. Defense. I'm not making fun of them for doing it. I'm just saying it's pretty almost incredible that a second round of replenishing the defense is taking place, and they haven't gotten any farther from having done it the first time.
Well, it doesn't have to be, and I'm not sure really what I'm saying by this, but with this sort of context in mind, the future, this year, this offseason feels like a sort of a last call or last-ditch effort on this. All right, we're going as hard as we can up front. They ended up signing 2 players who are on drug suspensions, right? Hoyt and Ogunjobi, or whatever kind of suspensions, if it's close enough. I think. Is it
sure,
safe to call it that?
Sure, yeah.
So there's that, and then it's the draft too, and defense in the draft. What more can they really do about it than they've done? And so it kind of has to work. Maybe not in the first year of it, all these new guys, but if you take the whole 8 years into account, it kind of feels like to me that it has to work. or else maybe there's someone new up top. Who knows? Mike Schopp and the Bulldog at 803-0550. Actually, not that I don't say the number out of habit, but Paul is coming up after the update. This is WGR.
The Buffalo Bills had media day over at OTAAS. Head coach Sean McDermott, he spoke with the media before the players hit the field this morning, did confirm that running back James Cook is the only player not in attendance, while edge rusher Joey Bosa is here but did not participate. He's dealing with a calf injury that could keep him out until training camp. Sal Capacio has more on today up at our website, WGR550.com. Game 4 of Oilers Stars in Edmonton at 8 o'clock. Edmonton has won 2 in a row as they take a 2-1 series lead. Also at 8, Game 4 of Knicks Pacers in Indiana. And through 3 games, no home team has won a game yet in that series. The Bisons are just about to get underway at home versus the Knights. That game can be heard on our sister station, the Bet 1520. While in the majors at 7:10, the Mets host the White Sox. At 8, the Blue Jays are in Texas versus the Rangers. While at 9:30, the Yankees are on the road versus the Angels. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet celebrating 90 years of being your hometown dealership. I'm Zach Jones for WGR Sports Radio 550.
It's Paul Hamilton.
Oh, Ceronic and Hamilton going to each other, and Sawinski fights into it.
We have the fight.
With Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Snodcheck was just totaled by an Iowa State player against the board.
I think it was by Hamilton.
On WGR.
Really a pretty unnecessary hit by Hamilton. Hamilton is still awfully mad. He's being held back.
Number 17, Paul Hamilton. 2 minutes for charging, 5 minutes for fighting, and a misconduct.
Sports Radio 550.
Pretty unnecessary hit indeed. I didn't see it, but I don't doubt it. I have no question. Paul Hamilton with us on the West Her Hotline. Let's talk some Amherst, Sabres, playoffs, and the Worlds. And I might want to start there. Tage Thompson, what a moment for him, Paul. The golden goal, overtime winner for the USA against Switzerland, 1-0 final. It's a goal you've seen Thompson score. We've seen him score a lot of different types of goal, but just like a rocket from the right circle.
Off the rush, little curl and drag, bingo, bango. Yep.
3-on-3.
Yeah, right.
In the overtime.
On that huge ice. Good God.
Yeah. And so, the Americans rush the ice. They win the tournament. I'm not sure it's the biggest. I know it isn't the biggest tournament to a lot of fans, but I guess it had been almost 100 years since they won that incarnation of that event. So cool for Thompson.
Yeah, 1933 was the only time they had won it until then. And, and just the movie made there. And now Siegenthaler plays with the New Jersey Devils. He, I'm sure, has seen Thompson many times before. But by making that move and Siegenthaler biting on it, he screened his goaltender, who, by the way, had not given up a goal to Team USA in 6 periods. He had a 3-0 shutout in the round robin and a 0-0 shutout after 3 periods of the gold medal game. So he hadn't given up a goal in 10 days. He wound up being the MVP of the tournament, but he was just totally screened. I mean, you give Thompson that with the kind of shot he has, and it take the goalie's eyes away. Good night. But it was a really nice play by Thompson to be able to set that defenseman up to screen the goaltender and then just rip it.
Paul, I feel like you certainly, I don't want to speak for our audience, but I know you paid more attention to this tournament than I did. I was, in and out with all of it, not just even Team USA. It was just a matter of convenience, whether it was on while I was in front of a TV and therefore I'm seeing some of it. Would you say Thompson played, he scores this incredible goal to give them the gold medal victory. Maybe that alone is enough to ensure that he makes the Olympic team next winter. But how would you assess his overall performance for Team USA?
Very good. I'd be saying this even without the golden goal. Now, he wound up with 2 overtime goals in the tournament, wound up with 6 goals and 3 assists for 9 points in 10 games. But the thing is, as the games got more important, he wasn't scoring as much, but he wasn't playing poorly. He bought into what they were trying to do. And you know how you hear this all the time, simplify. He stopped. First couple of games he struggled because he was trying to stick handle through people and the whole thing, and he was on the top line with Keller and Cooley from Utah. That wasn't working at all. And then they switched him. And they put Garland on that line, and they put Thompson out there with Beniers, and all of them got going. And it was a great move for everybody. And he stopped trying to, go through everybody. And by the time they got into the more important games at the end of the tournament, there were times where he just decided, you know what, let's live for another day. Let's put the puck in deep. Let's put it in where the puck should be. And if we have to defend, we have to defend. There's no sense trying to go through two guys, turning the puck over, and having it come the other way when you're playing for a gold medal or you're playing for an opportunity to be in the gold medal game. I really liked his game, overall game, where he really bought into the team concept and still, had 6 goals and 3 assists and 9 points. That's nothing to sneeze at, especially when you're scoring 2 overtime goals. But and I think he can take some of this with him now. I mean, as he said when he was interviewed over there, he never won anything in the NHL. Or this is now. Is this a Stanley Cup? No. This isn't even a gold medal in the Olympics, but it's still a gold medal at the World Championships, and it's still, he was on a team that certainly was not favored. I mean, if you were to look at the rosters before, you're not picking Team USA to win, and a lot of U.S. players don't take this tournament seriously. I mean, guys couldn't wait to get over there after their teams were eliminated in the Stanley Cup Finals. Nylander went over and played 3 games with Sweden after Toronto got eliminated. He only got in 3 games, but he went over there to play. The Devils sent half their team. I mean, I think they had 4 guys on Switzerland's team. I mean, except for Team USA. Pinto from Ottawa went. I mean, and Guerin talked about how he's disappointed. He wanted guys to show up, and especially guys who wanted to be on the Olympic team. Thompson was one that did. But I think just the way his overall game, even before the golden goal, I think showed he's willing to play the way things needed to be played, and definitely deserves a spot on the Olympic team in my mind.
Makes sense. I heard that conversation on the broadcast a little bit when he scored and they won it, like that he cemented his spot. Maybe you're saying 2 things. Not only did he perform, but the fact that he was willing to go in the first place and put the effort in. Is there anything more for him here to elevate? I mean, he played on the wing. It's a long ways off next season. There could be changes. There should be, I guess, somehow to the roster by then. But is there anything more for him? Maybe it's a little bit what you're talking about, Paul, for him as a player to be more complete or just even better somehow?
And that doesn't mean he's going to have less offense. I mean, since the 47-goal year, he is second with U.S.-born players in goals behind Austin Matthews. This year, he was number 1 at 44. I don't think you really have to sacrifice that, but there are times where you looked at his defensive play, or you went, come on, Sage, you got to be better than that. And he even talked about it himself that he needed to be better in his overall game. And if you're very good with your overall game, you know what that leads to? Better opportunities at the other end, because that means you're helping get the puck away from the other team, and that means your team is going to have the puck more, coming up ice. A lot of players, it takes them a while to understand that good defensive play actually helps you offensively because your team is going to wind up with the puck more. So I think, being able to see what it takes to win a championship like that, and how they had to play to win that championship, and be patient. It's 0-0, and you have not scored on this team in 6 periods. But there's no panic. There's no, they had 39 shots in regulation. Thompson was the 40th. They just, and a goaltender that was standing on his head was the MVP of the tournament, and just was great until he couldn't see. And once he couldn't see the puck coming at him, it's in his net.
Yeah, I also would have leaned on what you described as his figuring out how he needed to play in this role in this tournament, given score, situation in the game, whatever, as what maybe needs the most work. I'm still thinking about his move from center to wing to begin with, and Lindy Ruff being somewhat critical. Somewhat critical might be, I'm misstating it somewhat. I just know he rather plainly said, I've talked to the guys. Cousins was here at the time. You might remember this. I remember from one of the pregame interviews with Lindy Ruff. I talked with my centers about the responsibility in the system and whether they can handle it. And eventually Thompson did get out to the wing. I know Kulik's emergence is a big reason for that, but I wonder if they'll get to a point where Ruff trusts him to play center for him, in a top line 22, 23 minute a night role against the other team's best players and all that, or whether he's become a winger now. Their depth chart will have a lot to say about that. Whether Kulik can play top 6 center minutes along with a healthy Josh Norris, hopefully. Maybe those are their top 2 centers, and Thompson has become a high scoring winger.
Yeah, and he said if they can't, they're going to play the wing. When he was talking about Cousins and Thompson, he goes, if they can't handle it, they're going to play the wing, and they know that. And neither one, I don't, especially Cousins, didn't want to play the wing. So that was kind of a challenge that he put out there for them. And I think they have in their mind right now that Kulik and Norris, Kulik came a long ways. And they talked about at the end of the year, and they weren't wrong. I mean, he had to play against some of the best players on the other teams defensively, being in the spot he was then in. And I thought he kept improving while he was doing that. Certainly, there's still work to be done. Just like J.J. Peterka. I'm certainly not going to tell you he's a good defensive forward. I'm going to tell you he at least at times was better, but still the numbers aren't great. He still needs to be better when you're talking about an all-around player, but he did score 55 goals in the last 2 years also, which you can't sneeze at. But so I think right now, and I think Lindy Ruff, if I recall, talked about it on Locker Cleanout, that it's nice to have a player that that can play wing or center for you, and you can put him in either place. So, they can look at, all right, let's go into training camp with Norris and Kulik, and let's see where it goes. Let's see, if they're up for the challenge. If Kulik, now in the playoffs here, Kulik was good for a while, but after Game 2 against Laval, where he was producing, he even said himself, he goes, I don't like my game. I don't think I'm playing very well. I can play a lot better. And then he stopped producing in the 3 games in Laval because Laval is the best team in the American Hockey League, and they're big. And Kulik had trouble. He wasn't producing, and it was a good learning experience for him. Sometimes it's, with the kind of size and I'll just say goony players that wind up in the American Hockey League, although Syracuse had more of those than Laval. Laval's a good hockey team. You've got to, it's going to be a lot tougher to find your way through some of the stuff that goes on and some of the stuff that is allowed to go on. I don't think he was very happy with the way he played throughout the playoffs in the American Hockey League, which to me is a good sign, and it shows him what he needs to work on as he gets ready for next year.
You mentioned the Amerks, Paul Hamilton with us. Their season ended on Sunday. They won Game 4, kind of big, to force a 5th game, and then lost the 5th game, deciding game in Laval, 5-0. What do you have on that game, or even games 4 and 5 since we last spoke?
Yeah, Game 4, the Amerks came out with a purpose, came out well, jumped on Laval early. I don't know why Laval didn't play their Caden Primo. I mean, Caden Primo won all 3 games in the series. Those are the 3 he played. He stole Game 3 for Laval. I mean, and then shuts him out in Game 5. He was 3-0 with a 1.71 and a .936 save percentage. Why you're going with the other guy, I have no idea, who lost both games and got pulled in the one game, in Game 4. It kind of gave the Amerks life, but the Amerks also played a very good game, and then they weren't there at all in Game 5. Laval had 2 early power plays, capitalized on one of them. Rochester did not play well defensively. You saw a lot of big chances. They gave up more shots than they normally do. Levi wasn't on top of his game. It just
wasn't their night.
Laval was extremely good, playing as good as they can. I mean, Primo got a shutout on 27 saves, but he wasn't really severely tested at all. And I don't know if Rochester just gave so much in Game 4 they had nothing left in Game 5 or whatever it was, but it wasn't the Rochester team that I had seen in other games against Syracuse and in the series against Laval. They just were not there in Game 5.
How much should we be counting on Levi to be a part of any goaltending solution in Buffalo next year, in your opinion, Paul?
I think the Laval series concerns me. He played very well against Syracuse, gave up the first 2 goals of the series and didn't give up another one for the rest of the series. A 3-game sweep and gave up 2 goals altogether, 2 straight shutouts. Played very well. He played very well in Game 4 against Laval, where they came out and won that game. Also wasn't bad, even though he gave up 3 in the win in Rochester. None of the goals were his fault, but in the 3 losses, wow, he just wasn't the same. He wasn't up for it. He gave up 18 goals in the 5 games. Now, yes, they're the best team in the American Hockey League in the regular season, but to have a 3.64 goals against it, an 8.62 save percentage,
yeah.
I mean, I need more than that. If you're going to step into the Sabre role and be their goaltender next year, I need you to step up and make the big save when the big save needs to be made, even though your team maybe isn't playing real well right now. You've got to kind of hold him in there for like he had at other times during the year when he had to. They didn't have to very often because they were a good defensive team for most of the year. They just weren't in Game 5. But, in those 3 losses, there were goals he'd want back. He wasn't making the big save at the big time. By the time that 5th goal went in, he was sliding by the crease. He had gone all the way past the net, on a shot over there as he way overplayed the play. So I have question marks. Can he be an NHL goaltender next year? Can he be an NHL goaltender at all? Or will he be lights out when he gets there and he's had a good growing experience for the last year and a half. He could show up in training camp and be ready to go, and be ready to take the bull by the horns. But the Laval series did raise some questions in my mind.
The draft begins 1 month from tonight, June 27th. Is there any news here? The Sabres, there's been speculation all spring that they might make organizational changes, on some level. Nothing has yet to happen, as far as I know, anyway. And as you get within a month of the draft, maybe you'd want to do it if you're going to do it.
Well, Jason Carmanos, the general manager, he's assistant to Kevin Adams and the general manager of Rochester, did speak today. I was on the call, and there have been speculation out there that Carmanos would be leaving, and he put that speculation down. He said he's heard none of it. He has a contract, and he's working with the Sabres, so he basically said that he doesn't know anything about that. So as of right now, he's still around. I think a lot of the speculation was he'd be leaving, and then the person coming in would kind of take over some of the responsibilities that he's doing. But, he said no. As far as he knows, he's still part of the organization. He has a contract, and, he'll be reporting for work tomorrow.
Why was there a conference call? Is it because of the Amerks season ending?
Yeah, it's their locker cleanout.
Okay.
So players, coach, and GM speak.
Okay, and he's considered the GM of the Amerks?
Right. He is the GM of the Amerks, yes.
So he's considered that as he is that? You're saying it is his title, and he's considered that?
Yeah, he has been the GM since he's arrived.
Okay, but people, okay, never mind, I'm done. Stanley Cup, we've got Edmonton home to Dallas tonight, having won the last 2, up 2-1. They look pretty good.
Yeah, they do. There are times Dallas has looked good. There are times Dallas hasn't. I mean, it's been a good series. It wasn't Dallas's night the other night, just like it wasn't Florida's night the other night against Carolina, where they had a chance to sweep. And it's the first time in a while I've seen Florida not play well, but they're human. I mean, I wouldn't expect that to go on for too long. It just wasn't their night, and they lost. But Dallas, Edmonton, that can go either way any night. I mean, look at what Dallas did when they came from behind in the third period on Edmonton,
right, and
won a hockey game. So that wasn't Edmonton's night. So it's been a fun series to watch. I'm looking forward to it, and again, I would not expect Florida to have too many more performances like we saw last night.
Right. Yeah, I think Carolina was fortunate. They at least got on the board here. So their last conference finals victory is not over the Sabres in the spring of 2006 anymore.
They only brought that up 3 or 4 times.
No, only a couple times.
Never again.
Yeah. Right. Edmonton, I think, looks great, Paul. That series, I'm on Dallas for a big dopey long-range parlay I've got going. So I'm interested in them, and I think Edmonton has been the better team on balance in all three games. Really, you had that pocket of Game 1 with the power play goals start third period that swung the whole thing for Dallas, and I don't know, even the night before, Sunday night or Sunday afternoon, Dallas had, I thought, a very good second period, but Edmonton is just they have learned how to play in the playoffs. Like, you've heard McDavid even talking about it, and the proof is in the pudding. Like, they can out Dallas, and Dallas is a very hard, heavy team to play against. And Edmonton has found a way to just sort of stave them off. Nothing lucky or fluky. The goalie was really good in the second period the other night, like I said, in Game 3. But mostly, they've just been the better team, I think, 5-on-5.
Other than the comeback, the goalie's been good throughout the series.
Right.
I mean, he's come back. There was an injury which put him back in the net. And for the most part, he's played well. That third period got away from him with the power play goals that you talked about. But you're not going to win without good goaltending, and I think they've gotten very good goaltending, which gives them confidence. And really, they were totally the better team in Game 3. I mean, Dallas just really wasn't up to it at all in that one. So that was, Edmonton's game for sure. And they played very, very well. But I would agree. I think Edmonton has played. I don't think Dallas has been awful.
No.
But I think Edmonton really has. If you're going to beat Edmonton like you did in that other game, you're going to have to really be at your best and getting good goaltending. And that's the way it's going to have to happen for them. And they certainly didn't get that in Game 3.
Paul, thanks for your time.
No problem, guys. Take care.
That's our Paul Hamilton on the Western Hotline. His appearances here on WGR are brought to you by Equitable Advisors. Planning for your future is about more than just money. Let Equitable be your guide. And by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this.
Big few days for lacrosse in New York, with the Bandits winning a third straight indoor championship Saturday afternoon, and Cornell.
I caught a bunch of that yesterday afternoon.
It was good.
Yep.
I thought it was good. Cornell does it. First title since 1977. C.J. Kirst, 82 goals, ties the all-time record. Big lacrosse family. He's got brothers in the pro ranks, and that's where he's headed. And I thought it was good.
Yeah, they beat Maryland yesterday.
They beat Maryland. I'm not into Maryland. Enough. Enough. They beat Cornell a couple years ago. Enough.
I saw highlights of that.
They showed highlights. They showed Rod Brindamore scoring against the Sabres, too.
Yeah, it was nice.
During a down period in the lacrosse final.
Nice touch.
Yeah, everybody's showing that. Nightline. It was on Nightline. Is there still Nightline? You think there is or isn't? I think there isn't. I think I know. It's Jimmy Kimmel.
I'm going to go with there isn't.
It'd be on after Jimmy Kimmel? Who stays up that late?
Nightline, it's streaming. You got to buy an app.
It's out there somewhere, you think?
It's got its own app.
I don't know.
The Nightline app.
Sal joined us earlier to recap Bill's minicamp. There was a lot. I mean, it was a day where the media could watch it and people talked. Sal filled us in. That's next. Mike Schopp and the Bulldog, WGR.